Yeah.
Yeah, but and somebody's got to get the donuts. That's all I got to say. Somebody's got to get the donuts.
Tim Horton.
Hey, I made two, but they were a little chewy.
It's been so long since I had a donut, I wouldn't know what it was. I mean, and even saying it, the wife's probably checking on me.
No donuts, but I do have.
You do have what? What do you have? Hold it back up again, Randall.
Chicken.
Chicken Little.
See, supper.
All right, we're gonna have to have a rule about eating supper here. If you're gonna bring it, bring enough for everybody.
I wonder if you could turn that on the light.
There you go. Got them. Okay.
Eddie and I was talking about this today. When you used to go to a get-together meeting, you spent an hour to get there, and then you were there 3 hours, and then you went to lunch. And by the time you come back, you had 8 hours of the day gone. So
Yeah.
this
Plus
way
lunch,
you go
plus
sit
lunch,
in-
plus the lunch and gas money too.
right. This way you go sit in your easy chair, kick back, and watch the show, and you know it's the greatest thing going.
Eat a piece of pizza, a slice of steak, a chicken wing. What else we had up here tonight? You had some good stuff. No donuts.
You know, I wanted mushrooms earlier today.
There we go, a Kit Kat.
Kit Kats.
I go across the street and get some, but that's too far away.
How about a glass of wine?
Now you're talking.
Oh boy, we eliminated cursing, but we didn't eliminate the drinking. All right. Doug wrote. Oh, wait a minute, folks. That one here, a special just came in. Doug Grote is in Arizona. Why is out there? And he's got this to everybody. Doug Grote asked, can he show an update on his shop while the sun is still up? What do y'all think?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, he's not in
Say
there.
it.
Yeah.
Gee, you're
All
kind
right,
of on the
buddy.
fence there, Doug.
Let me get
As
out
long
here.
as he's not in a dress.
Oh, there's puppy
What's
dog.
that?
Oh, don't start. Please don't start that. And nobody dares
Hold
send
on.
him a
Hey,
wig spin.
Skittles, get over here. I came outside, my dog ran off. She's a friendly dog.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's what they all say.
So starting to get wrapped. And then, if I step over here onto my neighbor's yard, then you can see where they tied in the roof. We didn't have that last time.
Nice.
Hey, Doug,
Yeah.
Very nice.
why don't you paint those rocks green to make it look like grass?
I do have grass in my backyard. But so here's the scary part. We got red tagged. It should be an easy fix, but the inspector did not like down there on the concrete. I don't know how well you can see that it's not smooth enough. So now they got to send out an
He's worried
engineer
about a
to say
little
that
horse.
yeah, they got to send out an engineer to show that it's structurally sound. But the inside's all about the same of what you guys saw the last time. The framing's all done. I don't know if my windows and door were in the last time. But so there's the
Things are gonna be huge.
Yeah. How big is it, Doug?
it's about 13 feet wide, but it's 42 feet deep.
Wow.
There's the
Clearly
green
not
grass
large
for you,
enough.
Ronnie, back there. You see the
There's
green
a
grass?
patch of grass, Ronnie. Look.
Yeah,
It's a
you
turf.
cut grass.
Yeah, it looks like
That
turf.
grass, it's a special blend. It stays green all year round. It's called plastic.
Turf.
I think he says he's hungry.
How often do you mow it?
Absolutely never.
Do you own a lawnmower?
I do, but it really is fake grass. Come on, Skittles. Come on. Thanks. Yeah, it's a synthetic, like little putting green kind of thing. Not that I have any holes in it to golf, but that's what it is.
Come here. No, come here. Behave yourself.
But any old ways, that's the update. Hopefully the engineer gets out here and says, yeah, they're concrete structurally sound, and then we can go back to making progress. I thought it was going to be done in May, but I don't know how long this holdup's going to take.
So because of that, they shut everything down, huh?
They did, yeah. It was pretty frustrating.
Vibrator along the edge.
That's it.
Yeah,
Used to do that, fix out the rub and buff. That's all.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah, that's purely
Told you that.
cosmetic.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not a concrete engineer, but I mean, I'm like there's a huge footer under that thing that it's not going anywhere.
And
No, it just didn't,
your inspectors are ridiculously tight. When I was building my shop, they just, it's a shop, okay, no problem, and just kept on moving on. Since it wasn't a dwelling, they did, they weren't that fussed at it. They just saw it 3 times and that was it.
Yeah,
I'm a concrete inspector, Doug, and that would pass our bridge inspections.
Oh, my goodness.
so the problem I'm having is the inspector that got assigned to my property. He's really new, and so like everything's an issue to him.
By the book.
He's too much by the book.
Yeah,
We've had safety guys like that too. I worked construction 45 years. And I've seen inspectors fill concrete like that. Too much honeycomb.
yeah,
What I did was rub it out. Mix up a little sand, rub it right out, no problem.
yeah.
That was structural. They just didn't vibrate. They didn't tap the edges of the form enough. Vibrate it.
Yeah. But anyways, that's where I'm at. So I haven't made anything in the last couple of weeks, and I missed last week because of college, and I'm actually going to be typing away on a paper while we're talking tonight anyway. But so that's all I got to show.
It looks good, bud. Appreciate you sharing that with us tonight.
Look nice.
Betcha. Thank you.
All
We
right,
have
Doug.
to have a grand opening now when it's ready.
Yeah.
Big
Good
puppy.
another one of dogs. Happy dog.
Oh,
And you're
Little one
up in
likes to run
Phoenix.
away.
You're up in Phoenix,
I'm north of Phoenix. I'm about almost 2 hours north of Phoenix.
2 hours north of Phoenix. You're way up there then.
Yeah, I live in Prescott Valley. But I do work in Phoenix, so I'm down there Monday through Friday most weeks.
Hey, Eddie,
Yes, ma'am.
do we have a demo tonight?
I think we do. I think we do.
Yeah.
I think our demonstrator's with us tonight.
awesome.
What we gonna learn tonight?
You got me tonight, I'm afraid.
It's Paul. It's Paul.
Oh,
From
Paul.
from the UK.
Good, good,
Yeah.
good.
So we
Bring
have
in
an
the midnight
international
oil.
speaker tonight, right?
Pardon?
We have an international speaker tonight.
Yeah, we got a translator coming in.
Do we? Good.
So it is. I got my passport just in case.
Some guys on the wrong side of the pond talk funny.
Be nice.
You know, that's what they say about us.
Yeah, I'm being silly.
Yeah.
We have a member from is Ronnie, you said at South Africa?
Is he in tonight?
Wow.
I don't know, but I think we covered Africa for
What?
a location. Yes.
I've been
Alright.
reading the last couple of weeks. He lives in South Africa. I don't know what time it is there.
About the same time it'd be where
Yeah.
Paul is right
Probably an
now.
hour or so
Yeah.
different from the UK, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of hours.
We got to get him out of the map.
Yeah, well, we should. I know I see our Australian fellow is with us. Donald's in this evening. He popped in a few minutes ago. In fact, I have to do, I'm glad y'all said this. I have to do a screen share here or a screen capture because people ask me, do I have any idea who's in the meetings? And the only way I'm going to get them is if I screen capture because we don't keep any records.
62.
Yeah, with 62 right now.
How you doing, Johnny Hughes?
Oh, I'm doing good today. It's another pretty day in paradise here.
There you go.
Did you see that
That
bolt?
weather yesterday, huh?
Oh, we're getting rain again today here, I tell you.
Yeah, but yesterday was really bad.
Yeah, sitting here looking at the radar out the corner of my eye, and it's getting ready to get bad here again. So,
Yeah.
Just left us.
I lost my satellite receiver, so I had to switch it to a internet to watch TV. So
yeah.
Down at Grand Isle yesterday, they had 75 to 100 miles an hour winds, they said.
I saw that jackup boat flipped over. So.
We're back.
And, they were showing one of the camps that tide came up. It came up about 6 feet quick.
Yeah.
Hey, Paula? Where'd she go?
Paul,
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from North Florida,
Ah, Florida.
Tallahassee. Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Yep.
How long have you been turning?
Oh, I don't know, about 8 years. I still consider myself a beginner. My significant other he's a pro, but
Cool.
I just got out of neck surgery,
Too.
so
I've been turning for 4 years and I'm still a beginner.
Yeah, I just got out.
I've been turning 4 years.
I had neck surgery, so I was out of commission for a while.
Oh, well, at least you got an excuse. I ain't got no excuse other than stupidity.
And where are you at?
I'm in
Another one of our Florida members, Kim's in line tonight.
Howdy.
There she is.
Yeah.
There she is.
Hi,
Hi,
Kim.
Kim.
Howdy.
Hey, Kim,
Yes, sir.
you ought to bring the camera out in the yard and roll around in the grass again.
Yeah, well, the backyard is full of chicken poop right now, so I'll pass. I'll let my chickens go today, so I don't need to be fertilized.
If anybody's seen Kim Tippin's video last week, she got her pot in and she was in the front yard and she was rolling around in the grass with the box in her hand, and then she showed you how she installed the pot.
I was very excited to get that part in. It was one of the most exciting packages, more so than Christmas packages. It was, so what I did in the yard was how I was really feeling. I just had to let y'all know that visually.
That was a good one.
Did that fix it?
It had me laughing. Yes, it did. It did fix it. That was the relay in it. The guy at Laguna said that if it wasn't the relay that was the problem, then it was probably going to be the inverter, and I would have to send the headstock, and then they would send me a new one or send it to them and they'd repair it, whatever. So I was glad that I didn't have to go through that mess.
Yeah.
So it did. It fixed it. I was able to do a whole hollowing without stopping or anything on me. And I was just like, yay. You don't really realize how fortunate you are to have things operate properly until they don't. And then you just get excited. You're like, excitement renews again. For your tools. You're just excited to, have them back. So
Are you gonna publish a video this week, Pam?
yes, I finally finished. I had like 3 projects going at once and in the middle of this late dilemma. So this Thursday, tomorrow, I will have a video up. I don't have the piece of the show because I already gave it to my mom. Otherwise I'd show it. I'm sorry.
What is it this week?
It is a walnut. John, one of our, John Britton, one of our members, he sent me some walnut, and I took another piece of it and turned a vase. One side of it is translucent resin, and the other side of it, I put resin squares along with walnut squares to make it look like they're floating or digitized. So one side I carved out and put resin squares on it, and then the other side I put resin squares too, but once it transitions into clear resin into walnut, and then of course those squares are floating, and I got it really nice and thin because you could really, it's one of those that you have to do thin because you can see right through the resin at the square. So yeah, it's really nice and thin and in uniform, and yeah, it was a challenge, but it was fun. And of course my chiseling skills stink, so there's a lot of mistakes in it, but I learned a lot from doing it. And it made me do things that I'm not comfortable or good at. And it I don't know, it was one of those projects where I know that I'm going to not do this the way that in my mind because we always up our skills in our mind and until it's right in front of us. And we're like, oh, maybe I can't chisel. Maybe I'm not really good at this. But I enjoyed it because it pushed me to do things that I don't normally do. And yeah, even though it might be not perfect, it gave me an opportunity to do more than just turning. It kind of incorporated other skill sets, and I enjoy that. I enjoy being challenged. I'm not afraid of the failure because I've grown to know that that's part of learning. It's one of those, like, I'm just going to give myself grace. I care enough to do better, but I also give myself enough grace to be like, it's learning. I'm learning, and it's okay.
Good.
You know?
We'll enjoy it.
If you folks don't see it every single Thursday, except for one she missed, Kim produces a video, and it is unlike some of the other videos that are out there. She edits it to where you see the parts you really want to see. And she doesn't spend 10 minutes sanding for you. You know, she'll explain all the steps and the processes. And if you don't come away with a hint or a tip, you didn't pay attention. Because I always pay attention, just like here. Pick up stuff every single week here. And I got to thank Kim and the other folks who participate with us. I mean, some of these folks charge pay-per-view to see some of their learnings and their activities, and we get them right here for you. And it's because they want to be involved in wood turning, and we want you involved. And when I said it, there is no clique, there's no gang, there's no panel, no board. I have what I call an advisory team, and it's about 12 or 14 people that we run things back and forth on. And it is back and forth. This thing with Ronnie building the wig stands this week. Ronnie said, why don't we do this for a challenge? And when he explained it, and then I talked to this lady at the hospital yesterday, I said, you know, we're behind the ball. We are really, really late on this. This is the kind of project we should jump on with both feet. I mean, we're in Freedom Pens. We turn a lot of pens over to Sergeant Rowe to use for our troops. But you know, there's other people in need. This might be a great program. I'd like to see it really rock and roll. Ronnie's challenged his home club to see what they would do. And Ronnie, are we up to challenging anybody else?
We'd like to see everybody turn to their own clubs and challenge your club where you're at, because that would be great. Can you imagine the amount of wig stands we could produce around the world? You know, that's something that we could really be proud of.
And the good that it does, the really good that it does, because we're giving something to people who are actually in need. And they get a lot of help from the organizations and all, but you know, they're our friends. We can take care of them.
Sure can.
So, but if you want to be involved, it's that simple. Turn a wig stand and give it away. Ronnie wondered how he could give it away, and he asked his daughter, and I think that's his outlet right now. Correct?
You want the next one?
Wait a minute, I got to mute myself. Hold on.
All right, go ahead, Ronnie. Ronnie's got his boss is talking to him. And we're meeting tonight. In a little while, we're going to go to United Kingdom. Paul Hannaby is going to do a demonstration for us tonight, and we're still recruiting demonstrations from you, our membership. If you'd like to do a demonstration for us, all you have to do is let us know. You can put it in the chat. I'd like to do a demo. We see the chat every week. We record the chat. And you can too, the little 3-dot thing on the bottom, you record the chat, and everything that's on the chat up to that point gets saved. What is not saved is what's not on the chat. So if you want to catch the whole program before you leave, save the chat, you'll get all of it. And I got to thank our webmaster, our awesome webmaster, Dave Rhodes. We probably have the most up-to-date and efficient website anywhere in the world when it comes to wood turning. Last week's show is up and full board, the whole thing, 3 hours. Also, the demonstrations and tips and techniques are broken out singly, and they're all on our website, but they're also on our YouTube site. And that's easy to get a hold of. There's the address right there, www.worldwidewoodturners.org, not .com, .org. And that's where you find all the information. I guess if you have a photograph of your work, or a tip or a hint, or a problem or a situation, or you just want to brag, you can send that information straight to Doug. That's it. Just put it right. There's a contact sheet on it, and we collect those. And the photos he gets and the photos I get, you use on the website and on our newsletter, which comes out on the first of the month. And this month, I got to brag on this. I think our newsletter is 12 to 15 pages long. Got a lot of information coming out this week, and it all came from you, the membership, all of it. We're not scrapping off somebody else's site and publishing it. It's coming right to us. I got to mention that the SWAT, SWAT meetings, that's not the guys with the guns. That's the guys with that's the turners. The SWAT is going to happen in August, as you heard it here last week. It does happen tomorrow, tax day. They open the gates and let you register beginning tomorrow. Now, there's some restrictions on attendance, which means they might run out of seats. So get your seat early. But they have some limitations on the meals and the feeding and all that because of COVID. But trust me, the way SWAT has taken care of us for the last 10, 12 years that I've been going, I don't have any problems with this. They will do what they can do as best they can do it. They will treat us like kings and queens, and you get to visit with family you really like. That's how I got to put it. Family you really like. And I look forward to seeing a lot of you folks. I know I'll see you there. And I have in the last couple of years. And that's where this came from. You wonder where this whole program came from? It came from SWAT. They didn't actually create the program. They created the symposium that I sat at and answered questions and talked to people that didn't have a club, just like you, that didn't have a club but wanted to stretch their arms out to another club. And that's why we formed, and myself and my advisory team. And Ronnie Burnett sat right next to me when we put this thing together and said, you know what? This can click. Because you don't have to buy gas, lunch, or put up with those guys trying to mooch donuts from you. That's where we're in. So we have a lot of folks in tonight. Oh, Silverdale, Washington, Ontario. Oh, who's that? Is that Cade in here? Oh yeah, I'm gonna get Cade up here. Cade is from Ontario. He's one of our better demonstrators and tips and his guys. You're not showing up from others, Cade.
Hi, Eddie. Hi, everyone.
All right, thank you, Cade.
Good evening, Cade.
Hey,
Good evening, Cade.
You got Jeff's hair here.
Bad hair day.
Is Doug Moore in the house yet?
Hey, Ronnie, I'm loving your wig stands you just posted on Facebook today. They're looking pretty sharp.
Very good, very good. I was going to ask everybody, let me know how many, Cade, any idea how many wig stands you've done?
Oh, I don't know, probably a couple hundred over the last few years or so.
Okay, because what we're going to do, we're going to keep track every week, and then we're going to post how many this entire club turns, you know?
Oh, sweet. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we got Andy Schuster out of Harrisville, Pennsylvania, says he's working on one, but he had a bobo. A boo-boo. And hey, it's a reading. I'm still new at it.
I still got all my fingers.
All right.
That's good.
The spindle cracked and smacked me across the knuckles.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
You know, we're forming a Band-Aid club, a Band-Aid brigade.
No, I didn't need Band-Aids. It just made me say some words I didn't want my mother to know I know.
Okay. Yeah, but we're creating a brigade, and I think I have approval for the name of me, Brenda's Band-Aid Brigade. I think that's how it's going to go. Is she still with us? She might be talking to us now.
What did you?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here, Andy.
It's gonna be called BBBBB, Brenda's Band-Aid Brigade.
Yes.
Oh, the BBB. Okay.
Hey, Brenda,
Yeah,
we kid you because we like you now, okay? Don't get your feelings hurt.
I'm good. We're good with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we sent Doug Rowe a comb. We don't have any, we don't cut anybody any slack. Probably got to send Jeff some hairspray.
Yeah, there you go. New hair dye. I'll turn
Well,
it
you
purple, right?
definitely don't need it, Eddie.
I don't know. When I say I'm going to get a haircut, it's I can pick which one.
There you go. Hey, I don't know if you guys saw, a while back, I bought a bunch of spindles, that once I saw, Kate doing those hair, wig stands and stuff, I got 250 of these babies. I thought, that's a good start. I got these for like 20 bucks, and they were all smooth right to the end. But I really hope we get put out of business, everybody, along with that, and, pens for our military overseas,
Very good.
Ronnie, I see Doug Moore is in Michigan is on board right now.
That's Doug Moore from Kentucky.
Okay, well, we'll get Doug Moore in Michigan.
You asked
he's
about
Doug Moore in Michigan.
He's at the beach. Doug's at the beach.
Oh, okay. Doug's on vacation. Where are you, Doug?
Me? I'm not on vacation. I'm in Michigan.
Oh, okay. All right.
Are you confusing me with Doug Miller again?
Yeah, he is.
Oh.
So that's pretty good. And again, the bubble that reflected the surface in this mold.
Doug is known better as Paul Barn.
Yeah, I'm Paul Barn Productions.
Yeah, we know Doug is pole born. When you say Doug, everybody kind of questions that.
Okay, I got here you go, Ronnie, just for you, buddy. From our master webmaster. I mean, he really stepped up. He'll put a page on our website for wig stands.
Very good.
He'll put, if you already created one, put it in, if you create a wig stand, guess what you got to do? Right into chat. I created a wig stand or 10 wig stands, or like Ronnie's going for 50. Yeah, he is. And I didn't blow it up. He's really got a target of 50 wig stands. So they'll keep, and Dave will keep track of it and put it up in the future. So if you're turning a wig stand, let us know. Let's get in the program. Get in the program. All right. Anybody got some art to show tonight? Wait. I don't think we have a co-host handling that. I don't see if Dane is back with us tonight.
Hey, Eddie, I don't have anything to show, but I need to give another shout out to Dave Edwards. He sent me some more pens on top of the bazillion pens he sent me the last time. So thanks again, buddy. I appreciate it.
Do you know if Dane's back on board tonight?
You're welcome.
I didn't see Dane on there yet.
Tonight. I haven't seen him yet. He was hoping to be back this week, but I don't know if he's making it yet or not.
Okay. Well, let's pop in. If you've got something to show for gallery tonight, pop in and say it, and I'll pop you up on the screen until one of our co-hosts takes over that duty. It's pretty simple. They just you put it in chat. I got something to show, and they introduce you, and we go there and we show. Anybody up for a gallery? Come on, you turned something, didn't you?
Hey, Eddie, I got to pop off because I got to go get some stuff turned in for school. But good seeing y'all again. And if I get done in time, I'll jump back on before the meeting's over.
All righty, Doug. Good to see you. And good to see you. Shop doing so well.
Take care, Doug.
You'll hit the second wave.
Bye, Doug.
Hey, Eddie.
Later, Doug. Yes, ma'am.
I got something to show you that I made this week.
All right. Go ahead. Keep talking, Brenda.
I'm here. Woohoo! Yay!
Now
Hey, Doug.
All right. First of all, I went out and got this tree limb and decided I wanted to make a birdhouse. And I drilled the hole too big. I didn't like that. But I was real proud of the fact, you see that plug? That thing fits nice and perfect. That's really rare for me. But I thought it turned out pretty good. I like it.
Nice, Brenda. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Nice.
It's like a mushroom and a house. It's cool.
Yeah, mushroom house. And then today I went out and made this little bowl, dish, or whatever you want to call it, out of a piece of 2x8
Oh,
I
she's
got from
stepping up.
my brother.
Very good.
Yep. There's the back.
Very nice.
And I used Parfex. See that nice little shine there?
There you go.
I'm not
Nice
real good
finish.
at it because there's some streaks. It ran. It stuck all over my fingers. It was a mess. But I figured that I'd make that for my brother with a piece of his scrap wood.
Rather nice.
That's
Very
nice.
nice.
You're not gonna supposed to spread it
I
with
don't
your
know, those
fingers.
2x4s are becoming
Yeah, I
high
know.
dollar now.
It ran down my finger. I couldn't help it. I had it splattered up my arm and everywhere. Glasses again now too.
All right.
2x8, you get 2 certificates, right? 2 2x4s.
Already got one. As a matter of fact, I even laminated mine.
All right, a gentleman named Burns has got something to show. You speak for a moment, then it'll pop up. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm from BC, Canada, and you guys are opposite side of Kate. He's on Ontario. I'm over on the BC side coast. I love making big bowls, and this is a really bowl. And I took classes with Michael Macho on the Zorby texturing tool, so I was able to come up with a flower pattern on the end grain.
Oh, that's nice.
And on the bottom pattern for another different
That is
type of
very
pattern.
nice.
And then I wanted to do a band, which is not as hard to do, but I actually wanted to, I don't know if I get that close enough. I double dyed that. So it actually comes out as a gray to make it look like a leather strip. And it's got a pattern chewed into it with the Sorby that also has the brown, the two-tone brown on it to give it a, so anyway, that's about 14 inches across and close to 7 inches deep. So that's what I thought I'd show.
Very nice.
Gary.
Thank you.
Gary in Oklahoma wants to show us something. Is that Gary Burns? No.
No, Gary Burns was Canada.
All right, Gary in Oklahoma. I got you now, Gary.
I'm talking, there you got me. Made this today, or I finished it today, but had a question because I made one of the hollowing tools. This one here will actually be going to Brenda, but I had a question on this bowl that I made, and I wish that Matt was here because he made a comment about using it. And so when I was actually using it to hollow, 2 things. One of them was if the bottom was smooth at the very beginning, when I would then go in to make it a little bit deeper, I'd get a vibration until I'd have to actually put some pressure on it to get it to start cutting. And there would be a fair vibration until it got in and maybe 1/8 of an inch. Is that normal?
I'm here, Gary. I'm here, Gary. I can answer that. If it's just touching the wood, then it's going to kind of bounce around. But the minute you push it in, the second you push it in, it'll self drill, right?
Yeah.
Then you've got like a shoulder.
Then at that time.
Well, I mean, it depends on how far off the tool, the tool rest you are, of course.
Yeah.
But what I found is I've got to, if I keep pressure on it, and what I tend to do is, I mean, you want to be right exactly on center. If you're up high, at the wrong angle, then it's going to start wood will try to move the tool around.
Yeah, doing a little bit of that. I was just wondering if it was normal. Plus, you never can tell the way these ball Endmills are really designed to where some of them may be a little bit different right at the tip for the tip portion.
Yep. A lot of it is feel. You got to learn. You feel. You're working on feel because you can't really see in there what you're doing. So you work on feel, and you can feel it when you've got a good smooth cut. You can really feel it working right.
It was. I mean, I did it on a small bowl just so that I could see in there and really start seeing what was going on. And I really did pick up on where you'd said opening up and closing the tool, and I found how to open it for the different areas. And then one other question where I would pull from the center, I would be pulling, and then when I would get to the edge where I'd start coming up on the outside, it would only go part way, and then I would go in with a bowl gouge and come from the lip down in.
Okay.
Is that the normal? Because when I would start coming up the side with this other tool, I was starting to get some chatter and it wasn't cutting really clean. And I'm wondering if it was because I was going too straight in, or should I have been more now at an angle?
What I tend to do when I'm looking for a real good shear cut on the tool, get mine here, is you can't really see that. I got stuff in the way here.
Whoa.
When I tend to drop my tool rest a little bit so I can drop my tool handle so that I'm actually coming in at a sort of an angle, and then I will pull it along. I'm not going at it at the edge at this angle. I'm coming along the side this way, if that makes sense. Okay. So I will go right from the center of the bottom and all the way along the whole, make it in one cut all the way along from the center all the way out to the very edge of the rim.
Okay, because that then answers the second question, because where I was working on the inside from here to here, I was working this part with the bowl gouge and then the rest of it with the other tool.
I've certainly done that too.
And so,
that works.
Well, it works, but then I've got a small where it's not smooth, to where you can see kind of a division of where one tool was working and the other tool wasn't. So that answers two. So in other words, going straight in for the bottom, but then dropping and pulling.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm running parallel along to, and just coming out like this, just keeping the same angle on the tool head.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will move my tool handle a little bit toward this. Yeah, let me see, this direction.
Yes.
So that I can ride the bevel along the inside. But anyway I'm doing it, I'm still making a smooth a cut I can, even if I'm usually not at this steep an angle. I'm exaggerating it, but I mean, usually it's like this, and I drop it a little bit to come across like that. And sometimes the inside of your your bowl, your goblet is lipped a little bit or something like that. So you might be coming in and undercutting the rim of your goblet or your rim of your bowl like that.
Well,
so,
it's a new tool.
Matt, he has a side grain bowl.
I'm sorry.
Look at the grain, Matt. Look at the grain direction on the bowl. He's a side grain. It's not in grain.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah, this was a side grain, because if you can see it too, the pith is right there, and I do have a slight crack
I can see
from both sides, and I had to fill those with CA.
Yeah, well, the thing with using that ball end mill tool to hollow like you're doing, you get a more consistent cut. Trey's exactly right. Good observation, Trey. That you get a consistent cut if it's all end grain, because it's all all the fibers in the wood are all going the same direction, right? So, you get a more consistent cut. I mean, it should work for side grain, but I usually when I'm doing that using that tool, it's usually on end grain.
Yeah, well, it really cut very well. I was very pleased with it, except for where I was stopping using one type of tool and moving to the other type of tool. I wasn't getting that nice smooth cut.
Well, you can overlap the cut. I mean, what you don't want to do, what you don't want to do is you don't want to turn all the way out. You don't want to, let me see how to do this. You don't want to turn all the way out to the same thickness, right? You want to turn this to your target thickness and then leave it, right? And then go further in. So because once this is, say, 1/8 of an inch thick, it's not really supported out on the edge of your bowl. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So ideally, what you'll do is you'll cut to your ideal thickness out on the edge of your bowl, and then you'll blend the next cut in. And you can do. I mean, I regularly do. I'll use the bowl gouge and do the first inch or two of something into the rim with the bowl gouge, and then I'll use the ball end mill tool to do the bottom up to that. But you can, if you make that transition, you can make a smooth transition. You just take the pressure off as you get to where the transition point is, and you make it just a super light cut.
I think it's a new tool where a lot of people are probably starting to learn.
Yep. Yep. Well, there's a feel to it. I mean, you learn how it feels, you learn how it sounds, you listen to the sound. You know, it's like anything, I suppose. I mean, it's got a sound to it, and you can really feel when you've hit the groove and cutting it, you can really feel it. It's just it's really good.
Yeah,
So
I was really enjoying the opening and closing at the different points along.
Hey, Gary, I have a suggestion for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't know if you can, somebody can highlight me so I can show Gary. On the tool here.
I got you, Alfred. Hold on 1 second. I'm adding.
Okay. Okay, here.
Right there.
When you're going in here, because the angle. Okay, there. Because here it's spherical, it depends if you're holding it straight in or by just turning it a bit, you're changing your shear angle.
Sure.
So try and look at where the tool is touching the wood to make sure it's always on a shearing angle. It's not scraping. And then as you pull out, what I normally do, because if you stay here, you're gonna get a big chunk trying to take off. So if you turn your tool while coming out and you can open and close it at that time, you'll find the sweet spot. You should be able to cut side grain with no problem because you can shear with this really, really nice.
Yep. Yep. You'll essentially you ride the bevel of that flute, don't you, Alfred?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you notice on this ball nose, the flute is so narrow that it's very easy to lose it. Yeah. And you know, by just turning it just a little bit, I mean, this flute is not more than, wow, at maybe a 30-second on it. You see how small that flute is?
Yeah.
You're talking about the bevel, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean the bevel, sorry. You see how small the bevel is on it? It's really, really narrow. So if you can turn it too much and you're off the bevel, or else you turn it the other way and it becomes aggressive.
Yeah. Yes.
Because, and then when you get off the bevel, what happens is you're pulling, it starts bouncing to find the bevel for you. And that's how you get those ridges, because you're not floating the bevel around. So it's kind of it's a tool that you can use very finely. You can take a really nice fine cut with it. You know, with these
enjoying working with it, trying to do that. Yeah, my bevel looks like it's about 1/16 of an inch. I just
yeah, you might have a different make, you know.
There's not much there. That's right.
Yeah, but it's a very useful tool. I've been using this for ages, and I was using them in metal because I have a tool and die. So when I started using them for wood turning, I said, oh, I found another use, and I have a bunch of these from, you know, my previous job. So they come in very handy. But it's a very useful tool. And I don't even put it in a handle. That's how I use it. Just like this.
Hey, you're not doing rough work with it. You don't need to have a lot of muscle. You have a lot of technique.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you can take a big cut if you want, but it's such a pleasure getting those ribbons out with it. You know, once it's a matter of, it's like anything else, it's practice.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And all of a sudden you say, oh, that's all there is to it, you know. Is that right, Matt? I mean, Matt has been doing this, you know, it's like anything else.
Yeah, Alfred's exactly right. Yeah, it's just, and I've got a really long handle on mine. I mean, mine's, you know, I showed you guys this, you know, I mean, my bar is probably 10 inches long, and then the handle is a good 2 feet long. So, and this is like one of the first tools I made a handle for, so it doesn't have a ferrule on it and stuff, but I haven't cracked it, so it was pretty crude at the time I made it. But it was.
I went from Home Depot a 36-inch cold rolled 5/8 and cut it.
That's all you need. Yeah, that's all you need.
That's 18 inches long, or 17.5 inches, because I cleaned up both ends before I then drilled it.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with getting fairly aggressive with mine.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'll crank it up and do some hogging with it. But then, you know, when you get to that point where you're going thin, you're getting thin on your rims, then you have to back off and you go make really light shearing cuts. So
exactly.
Jerry,
Yes, sir.
explain again, when you went to Home Depot, what did you buy?
Okay, this was just a 36-inch cold rolled round 5/8 inch bar.
Yeah.
And it was like a 12, let's see, with tax for me, it was $12.60 is what it cost.
Yeah.
Did you
Oh,
drill
wait,
it?
no, I'm sorry, that was a bit. It was $14. So this half inch was $7. Or this 18 inches would cost $7. But it was from Home Depot. Lowe's, for some reason or other in Oklahoma City, is cutting way back on all of their steel. And Home Depot seems to be expanding it.
Yeah.
Well, steel is hard to get now too. Steel is a priceless resource, and a lot of these companies are having a lot of problems getting steel.
Yeah.
And this Ronnie, that's what mine is too. Mine is 5/8 steel, 5/8 inch steel.
Yeah.
And basically you can, we talked about this 2 weeks ago when I showed this, is that you could put it on your wood lathe and drill it out. And then on mine, I've got a little hole drilled and a grub screw in it to hold the bit in.
Yeah.
And Trey said he used epoxy. So there's a couple ways of doing it. So, yep. So
I got a question for y'all. How are y'all drilling that? You putting that piece of steel in the tailstock and putting your drill bit in the headstock?
You know what I do? I just put mine. I made an angle plate. You can make it out of wood if you want. I have a metal angle plate, and I use it straight on my drill press. And I bolt it down on my table like this upright, and I move my table to the side, and I just drill it straight.
Okay.
Yeah, it's simple. That's the best way. That's how I do most of my drilling. I can drill it straight on the drill press. You got an angle plate here, and you clamp it to it. You can put a V block if you want, a couple of V blocks made out of wood, with 2 straps, and you clamp it there, and it's all perfectly in the middle. And you use your drill press, and it goes. And
I learned how to drill spindles when I was in cabinet making school, and we would use a Blessy clamp, the one that's got the 2 handles on it.
Yes.
And you drill a hole, you put them together, you drill a hole, and a small hole right through the middle of the jaws. And then when you open it up, it'll grab almost any size rod or tube or square or anything else and hold it vertical. You hang that over the side of the table of the drill press, and boom, you're there. And you never have to worry about it being level.
yes, exactly. That's what I do too. I have one, I put a V in it, one on each side, and it can grab anything that I want. And I grab it like this, and then I clamp it to the table, and you're right there.
Yeah.
It's gonna
I'm
be
lucky
exactly.
enough to where I've got a wood lathe or a metal lathe. So you just slip, depending upon what kind of a headstock you've got, or on a wood lathe, you might be able to slip this in and clamp it down yet. And then with the Jacobs chuck on your tail end, you just come in and drill it also. So for me, I just did a centering with the centering. It's kind of like a drill.
Yeah, it's a
Start the
center
hole,
drill.
and
Centering bit.
You
Yeah.
change it to the 3/8 or the 3/8, and or 1/4 inch or whatever ball end that you have. Or
Yeah.
I've got 1/4 inch that I use on my CNC, but I thought the 3/8 would be a much better one, and so that's why I did.
Very good.
Yeah.
It's coming up to the top of the hour, and I have to mention, folks, if you're just joining us or you haven't made previous programs, that tool was described by Matt Harbor and Trey Lene and a few other turners. In fact, a handful of turners had this tool, and it's not something you'd find in a catalog. It's not something you'd find in a hardware store. It's something you have to put together yourself, and what we've been talking about is how to do it. I found the piece of bar that I want to drill mine in, and I'm lucky it's got a center reference mark scored in it. And that's how I will know where my cutter is, because then my mind's eye can get my fix on where my line would be, or it should go. Because sometimes this doesn't talk to this, so you need to have a little something in between. we have a couple other, Alfred's still around and he's got something to show tonight. So let's go to Alfred. Alfred, see what you got, sir.
Wow.
You caught me eating.
Everybody's eating tonight.
Well, this was, it's a tree, a small tree, some kind of a fruit tree that was in our front yard. And this was in the root ball. And I had a hell of a time taking it out because it was covered with that wire mesh, but it was 1/4 inch rods. And I had to get the cutter and go through them because the roots went all through it. But anyway, so I turned it wet and I let it dry by itself and does whatever it wants. I was really lucky with this one. It only held together by the bark. And I don't know how it stayed together, but I let it dry, and this is what it did. There is some bird's eye in there too, if I can get it to show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
And yeah, but and I put a few coats of Danish oil on it, and it really distorted. I mean, like this piece here, it's only held by a piece of bark right down here. I don't know how it stayed together. You know, like even the rest of it here, it's all bark. And believe it or not, I did not do anything to hold it when I was turning it. No plastic or shrink wrap or nothing. It just stayed together. And then once it started drying, it went all over. But
it's a beautiful piece of work, sir. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm really surprised how it stayed together. But
that is awesome.
Yeah,
it is gorgeous.
Beautiful. Very Every week, Alfred, you show us something that's amazing.
Yes. Oh, you guys do amazing stuff. There is a lot of stuff I cannot do that you guys do.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. Right now, I'm going to go to Dean Grimes.
There you go.
Whistle for me, Dean. Nope, can't whistle if you're muted.
Muted.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not muted.
Now you.
There you go.
So that was my video for this week that I posted up.
Yeah, I saw the video of it. That was really neat the way you made it. I had a question to ask you on that.
Yes, sir.
The reed that you put in there, can you change the angle on it to give you different whistles?
You know, I've never tried. It's just a piece of dowel that you grind about 1/8 inch off the top of it and slip it in there. I know that if you make the hole different depths,
yes,
that'll change the whistle.
Okay, that's what I was getting at, because I had done, actually there was a group of us that done this. This is a train whistle. And it has, okay, there is 3 different holes down here, and they're 5/8 diameter, and they're at different depths. And then this is a air chamber, so it's hollow there. And I don't know if you can see the reeds. Yeah, there is one there. And the reeds, they have to be cut at different angles to allow different exposure for the air to go through. And that, in combination of the depth, it gives you the different tones. And it really sounds like a train whistle. I mean, that's
cool.
Yeah, it's really
real
cool.
cool.
We got this, we found this somewhere online. I don't know where we found it. We did this years back. This was a piece of ash, and it's not really showing good, but ash, and I dyed it, and I put some white cream here on it, and I believe this is just cherry.
Hey, Alfred, if you remember, the sounds that are produced are a function of the size of the sound chamber. So
yes.
So it
And
doesn't
even
matter.
the depth, even the depth here,
Yep,
the depth of the holes make a different sound too. And also the reeds that are in here, the holes are the same, but the reed, some leave more, they're different angles, so they leave more air to go through. I think it's a combination of all together.
So if you make the holes larger for the air passage, then you get a more breathy sound because there's more air traveling. But the pitch, the actual tones, are a function of the air chamber size.
There you go.
So if you want a deeper tone, you make the air chambers bigger.
Yeah.
So make the whistle longer and so on. I remember doing those projects. Yeah, that was fun.
This is something we found on the internet.
Yeah,
I'm
somebody
sure
like
that-
Alan Stratton or Al Sturt or somebody like that is doing them.
Yeah,
Like
I'm sure that,
Jefferson.
you know, we do a search on it, it will come up, and you know, this is
Hey,
a really nice
Alfred,
project.
you want to do a demo on making those, Alfred?
I have to find it first. I forgot how I did this.
That was a sneaky way of trapping them in there, Dave.
Yeah,
Sounds like a
he's
great demo
trying.
for me.
Yeah,
I
you
think
see,
you
there
got trapped
are
a
the
couple
reeds in
times.
there. There is 3 or 4. 1, 2. There is 4 reeds. Okay, so there is 4.
Yeah, I
holes.
remember drilling 4 holes in that thing. So
Yeah, okay, there's 4 holes. But yeah, I like that whistle. I saw your video. That's really neat the way you made that whistle.
Good deal. Thank you. Yeah, I just thought it'd be something simple. I've made them and given them away before, so I thought it'd be neat to share.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't want to take over. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Dean, I wanted to say too that I seen your video this morning on YouTube and I watched it and wanted to make one too, but I can't find a 3/4 inch dowel rod right now. So
no, you can make it. Make it.
You could turn.
Yeah, I know. I could make one.
Do you have
my ace has them.
Dowel, and you can make that dowel.
Yeah.
My ace carries 3/4 inch dowel.
All you need is a piece of wood.
I got plenty of wood.
What's the
Take it out of
3/4
a
inch dowel
2x4.
for?
Come on, guys, we return it. Return it.
And I just didn't want to.
Do you have a tree
I
in the
wanted to make a
backyard?
whistle, not a dowel rod.
You give the grandkids these whistles as they walking out the door going home.
That's right. Not when they come in.
Oh, yeah.
Going on.
That's right.
After you get
One
them
year I made
stirred
whistles
up.
and I went out west to visit family, and my cousin has 6 kids, so I was staying with them for a weekend. And the last day before I left, I handed each one of these 6 kids one of these whistles, and I mean, they drove her nuts.
You've never been invited.
Loved you for that.
You're not invited back, right?
Yeah.
Your time's coming, Kate. Your time's coming.
I know. They invited me back, but she used to torment me as a kid, so I thought that was a great way to get it. The kids
Yeah,
got
my
whistles
my
for
wife
Christmas.
keeps hiding this for me because I drive her crazy. You know, every time the grandkids come over, we're playing with them. So she
Okay.
keeps hiding it for me.
I bet.
Okay,
I
folks.
Demonstrate it?
It's a little bit after the top of the hour, and I made a promise to somebody this week because they made a commitment that they would do a demonstration for us. So right now, I'm going to head over to Paul Hannaby, and he is with us from the United Kingdom, and I got to spotlight him up right now. Paul, you with? Yes, sir, you're with us. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Paul.
All right, folks, here's the deal. If I mute all, then nobody can talk. So, but if you want to talk with Paul, we can do it during the demonstration. But if you have company around, mute yourself so we don't hear everything else. And I just heard Johnny Hughes just send something in. He's got a drawing for the train whistle. If he's got a drawing for it, our master webmaster is going to be putting it up on our site for us. That's where he's going to send it to Dave. Paul, you with us again, sir? I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
That's all right, no problem. Yes, I'm here.
What do we have tonight?
We're going to do a threaded box. Well, that's the plan. So a couple of examples to start with. Here we go. This was just a rough sort of beginning of the piece of wood with the threads cut. So this is a piece of boxwood. So that's sort of do the insides done, and then you can turn the outside of the box. So that's where we'd start. There's one here. This one I do sometimes for demos, and you've got a thread there, and inside here you've got a series of bobbins and a hole in the end. So that's the needle case. You put your needles in the end, and you can wind your threads on the bobbins there, and it's effectively a traveling needle case. That one came from a Roman design, but they didn't thread them, but they would have been a push fit, but it's just an evolution of that. There's one here that's a little spinning top, and take the top off, so it's sort of Bonnie Klein style spinning top there.
Wow.
Again in box.
You thread it. You thread at that top, correct? You thread out that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this one, which is a bit rough, but I just want to show the inside of it really. These are pewter inserts that I've cast myself and then turn and thread in the same way as I would a piece of wood. The outside of that's yet to be turned, obviously, but that's something else you can do with threading. You can sort of extend that idea and actually make threaded inserts out of plastic or even out of resin, or in that case out of pewter. But the advantage of being able to thread an insert is if you've got a wood that's a bit soft and isn't going to take a thread very well, you can put an insert in that would take a thread. So you can extend what you can do with threaded boxes. And there's a little one here which is unfinished. This one's a piece of striped ebony, and again that's threaded as a little box, but as I say, unfinished. It's still got a little bit of a lug at each end where it was held between center, so I need to turn that and put some finish on it. That's just unfinished at the moment. But there are a few examples there. But the basic tools are these. You need a pair of thread chasers, and they usually come in pairs. I say usually. There is what they call a unit chaser that Ashley R's make that looks a bit like that, and it's usable at both ways round. So you only get one rather than a pair. But the conventional set, if you like, is this. You get one that's got the teeth on the end and one that's got the teeth on the side. And the one with the teeth on the end you use to do the external thread. The one with the teeth on the side you get to use on the internal thread. And the third tool in the set is this one. You see that L-shaped cutter on the side? It actually, the cutting edge is on the edge of that L where I've got my finger. And that's for recessing the internal thread. I'll explain that when we come to it. But I just wanted to show you what you get as a set of tools. Before you can use your thread chasing tools, they need a little bit of settling. So modify them slightly. These are generally just made out of a rectangular bar with the teeth cut on the end. This one, the edges have been rounded. So if you're sliding that across your tool rest, which is what you do with these, then those rounded edges make it slide better. I'll put that under the close-up camera here. So that's the underside. So let me get that in place. You see the corners there are round rather than a hard square corner. So that's been rounded off on the bottom two corners. So it's going to slide smoothly across the rest. The other thing with this is you see on the end, if I show you the side view of that, it looks like it's got a bevel on the top. The reason for that is the way I sharpen them. I'll go back to the front camera there. The bevel on the top there is because when I sharpen them with a little hone, just a flat hone. This one's a diamond hone, but any flat hone will do. And instead of holding the hone flat on the top of the tool, and you're effectively taking metal off all of the top of the tool, I just angle it. So it's at a few degrees. I don't know what angle, but 5-10 degrees, whatever. You can see there the angle on the side, and I then hone it at that angle. So I'm just sharpening the tops of the teeth, nothing else. That's all you do. You sharpen the tops of the teeth, and over time that's developed that bevel because it's been being used. So I've probably got halfway through the thickness of that. And on the tool with the teeth, this one with the teeth on the side, same principle. Instead of having the hone flat, I just angle it slightly and then hone the teeth on the edge.
You're only using those teeth. You're not using the whole top. So that's the part you need to sharpen.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you've got the teeth sharp, it will do the job. So that's the basic sort of tools. These come in different pictures. The one I just showed you, let's go back to that. That's a 16 teeth per inch thread chaser. So that's most people say for an average sort of reasonably dense wood, a 16 or 18 is a good place to start. You can go a bit each side of that. I'll show you another one here alongside it. That one's a 10. So you see the difference between the 16 and the 10. It's a lot coarser. You've got a deeper thread. So that might work better on a slightly softer wood. I've got between about 3 teeth per inch and 40. So to be honest, I don't use the ones at the extremes. I just got them as a job lot once. The 40 teeth per inch, probably too fine for wood. You might use those on bone, ivory, or brass or something like that, but probably too fine for wood. You might go probably the extreme with a hardwood like boxwood is maybe 32 teeth per inch or something like that. But yeah, generally 16 to 18 is where you want to be. So that's just a quick intro. If we switch to the lathe now, look at that. I've got a tool rest here, and this is the other thing you need to get right before you start chasing threads. This one, there's a few little dinks and dents, and you can see here where I've got my finger. There's a couple of marks there where the parting tool or something has put slight marks in it. So what I would do every now and again is get a flat file, run it across the top of the rest like this, and flatten out the top of the rest. This one's a moderately coarse file, so I do the coarse file, then a fine one, and then probably finish it with maybe a 180 grit or something like that. You don't need to polish it, but I want it smooth, and this has got just a couple of little dinks in it that I would like gone before I used it for thread chasing. As it happens in this case, I've just got a different tool rest. This one's a standard cast tool rest, so I'm going to switch to this one, which is a hardened steel top. So that one should be smooth and not have any little marks in it, because that's as hard as the tools I'm putting on it. So that should be fine without me having to do anything. So first thing I do is just get a scrap piece of wood and just show you the principle of cutting the thread for those of you that haven't done it. I know there's some that have, but you have to bear with me. So I've got a piece of boxwood here. It's if you want to practice this, I'd suggest getting a dense piece of wood to start with. So that's a good choice. Set up my tool rest, and I just want to square that off. Make sure it's running true. So I just want to make this pretty much a parallel cylinder initially. And then on that corner, just round it off. And that's ready to start a thread. And then when I actually cut the thread, I want to bring my speed back down to about 400, 500 RPM, somewhere in that ballpark. Stop the lathe there. The reason for riding that corner over is when I want to cut my thread. I think I've just lost one of my thread chasing tools. Oh no, there it is. To strike the thread, as they call it, I want to do it on the corner. And if you've got a sharp corner there, that corner digs in between two of the teeth, and your tool doesn't move. So you remove the corner, so this tool will move across that radius corner instead of just digging in on the edge. Take the tool rest farther back than you would normally, because what you want to do is go across and back. So you're using your tool in effectively a circular motion, and you need a little bit more space between the wood and the tool rest to allow that to happen. So about an inch, give or take, that's probably a good sort of distance. Treat this like you would any scraper. You want to be cutting pretty much on center line, or just below, and with the edge trailing slightly, so it doesn't sort of dig in or works in a sort of grabby sort of fashion. So I'll start the lathe at just under 500 RPM, and I've got the tool at about 45 degrees, and I'm just going to touch the wood and pull the tool to my left towards the headstock to try and start that thread. And once the thread is struck, as they call it, you put the tool that's against the wood, and you see it tracks itself now, because it's following the groove that's been cut. The spiral is there, and the tool will now follow it. So a couple of passes, all three should get that, and then I'll keep doing more at the same point, and then as that gets a bit deeper and more defined, I start to bring my tool around. Eventually I want to end up here at 90 degrees, so I'm cutting a straight thread down that cylinder, but I start off on that corner, and with each pass I bring the handle around a little bit further, and you see that thread starts to propagate down the cylinder.
Paul, in a little bit, will you give us an end shot of that scraper on the thread chaser, showing us from the tip looking to the handle? So because folks aren't understanding why. You see that those grooves are on angles. They're not 90 degrees to the ball.
Let me put it on the other camera. Hang on. You can hopefully see there that you've got teeth.
But they're not ground 90 degrees to the flat. They're ground on the angle of the pitch. So that makes it automatically walk across the piece.
Yeah, they're ground at a slight slope, if you look at it end on. If I bring that camera up, I'll probably show you.
That's the same reason your skew skates when you present it slightly off center.
Yeah.
It's difficult to make out. Let me get the coarser one. It's probably more obvious with the coarser one. That one's a 10 teeth per inch. You can see that there's only about 5 teeth across there.
Yeah,
and I'm not quite sure how well it shows up, but
I've ran across turners that tried to make them, and they made them 90 degrees, and they won't walk.
No, they don't. The Unichaser that Ashley R's make is a straight one, because you use it both ways up, one for external, one for internal, and it doesn't walk in the way that you're sort of describing there, but it will work, because with these I've actually used them to cut a left-hand thread, even though they've got that right-hand bias on them. On the end here, they've got that angle. If you just trail them so the actual depth of the teeth aren't really making much contact, you can actually make it go the other way. You just run the tool from left to right instead of right to left. But you see there the thread's starting to form. It's not fully formed yet, but if I carry on, do a few more passes.
Now, you're not pushing in on this, are you? You're just kind of letting
I'm
it.
just putting a little bit of pressure on it just to speed up the cut, but I'm letting it take its own sort of path to the side. You don't want to be pushing it sideways, but I'm just putting a little bit of force inwards just to take a slightly bigger cut. just to speed the process up really. But there's an almost fully formed thread now. So that's the principle of it anyway. Where you've got a shoulder, let me just get rid of that. Just speed that up a bit. So if I do one with a shoulder, a bit like the one on the end there, this will probably explain why you need that recess tool. So now we're turning up to that shoulder. We're forming a thread up to that shoulder. So when the thread tracing tool reaches that shoulder, you need to extract it before it hits the shoulder. Because if the tool stops, it tears the thread off, or at least it's going to damage it. So we need to be able to form a fully formed thread up to the end of the thread really, otherwise it might not work properly with the other half of the thread. So the way we achieve that is to use a narrow parting tool and just cut a recess in there that's as deep as the thread. In this case, 16 teeth per inch thread tracers, you want a recess that's going to be maybe a 1/16 of an inch deep, thereabouts. So I'm just radiusing that corner so we can go in there again. Bring my speed back down 400, 450-ish. And then again, we strike the thread on the corner. I'm just going to slow that down a little bit. And once that thread strikes, you can feel it start to pull itself like that. So I start to bring my thread tracer around. And here I'm working up to a shoulder. So I've got to extract the tool before I hit the shoulder. So now it's a little bit more difficult because of that shoulder. So I'm running up to it. And if I feel that's running too fast, I can drop the speed down and do it at my own pace. So don't feel you have to do it at any particular speed. Do it at a speed you're comfortable with. So if you feel that the tool's running away with you, just slow it down. You've got variable speed, then that's a sort of an option you've got there. This one's not working quite how it's supposed to, but I think I've got well, that's it, got it now. So running up to that shoulder, it's essential to see that at that point there, I need to withdraw the tool from the thread before it hits the shoulder. And the shorter that thread is, the less time you've got from the point where you engage the tool to the point where you reach the shoulder and have to withdraw it. So it becomes a little bit more tricky to do short thread. So what I would normally do is make a longer thread. Let's get this. It's getting there. It's got a taper on it there. I can square that off if I need to, but just while we've got that tapered thread there, one point to bear in mind is sometimes it's useful to make a tapered thread, and you can just put them together and do half a turn, and it locks on. So they have their uses. Usually you would try and do this and make a straight thread, but there we've got a tapered one. But I just wanted to demonstrate the actual sort of principle of how that's formed, and how you're working up to the shoulder there. One other thing to bear in mind, if you run that tool too fast, you can get what they call a two-start thread. So if I put my pencil in that groove, let me find a start, it's about there, and turn the piece of wood, I should, if that's correct, I should have a pencil mark on every groove. Here I haven't. I've got a pencil mark there, then nothing, then a pencil mark. So I've got a two-start thread there. So I was actually moving the tool too fast for the speed I was turning the lathe.
Headset.
This one here, hopefully, I'll put my pencil in that one. Oh yeah, that's a left-hand thread on there. But you can see there, I've put pencil on every single groove. That's a one-start thread. So bear in mind that if you get your synchronization wrong, you can make a 2-start thread or even a 3-start thread. Fine if you make them both the same, but that's not usually what you want to do. So it's just one to watch out for. So what I would do is, if that wasn't what I wanted, I'd take it off and then adjust the speed of the lathe or the speed of me moving the tool. I was moving effectively at double the speed I should have been for the rotational speed of the lathe. That's why I've ended up with a 2-start pitch there. I think this first one up here, what's left of it, if I run the pencil around there, then that one is also a 2-start. So that just shows you that it is possible to get these wrong if you run the tool too fast. But anyway, that's
Paul, can that be corrected, or do you have to take the threads off and restart?
You've got to take it off. You need to turn the thread away and recut it.
Okay.
There isn't really a fix for it unless you can make the female thread to match. As long as you've got too much in threads, they'll work. But you need to replicate that on both, if you see what I mean. So
but the double thread will just mean it screws on quicker and you have less, it'll just screw onto your box quicker. So it's actually maybe a good thing.
I mean, it's not necessarily wrong, but if you're aware of it, then you can use it to your advantage. That was sort of part of the purpose of that. If you look at pen kits, for those of you that you turn pens, if you look at the pen kits, most pens where you've got a screw-on cap will have a 3 or a 4-start thread. And again, it's done exactly as Matt said, to turn it on faster. You want to screw on your cap onto your pen without lots of twists to do it. You just want to put it on, twist, and it's done. So they have a 3 or a 4-start thread on the pen cap. So that's what happens. Half a turn and it's done pretty much. So yeah, there are times when it is used for that purpose, and if you know how to do it, then you can make it yourself and make it to your advantage.
Paul, when you're doing an internal and external thread, which one do you want to do first?
I normally favor doing the internal thread first. You can do it either way, and I have done them both ways, but if you give me a choice, I would do the internal thread first, and then I think it's the reason I would do it that way is because it's easier to size the spigot and then turn the external thread to match it. So no other reason other than that, but you can do it either way. But yeah, that's what I would do. And also, while we're talking about threads, internals and externals, there's a choice about which thread you put on which half. Like with boxes, would you put the spigot on the lid or on the base? Here I've got the internal thread in the base because I just think it looks neater. Whereas if you look at the lid, you've got the spigot sticking out and the thread on it. So that you normally pick it up and put it aside, and your focus is on that piece. So I think it just looks neat to put in the internal thread on the base of the box. And if that was a push fit box, that would be as it is, and the spigot would be on the lid. But yeah, again, you can do it either way, and there's no right or wrong here. It's what you think works. But I've got a piece of wood here. This is a piece of king wood. So I'll make a box out of that. So I'm going to put that on the lathe.
And are you cutting pewter exactly the same way as you did the wood for threading?
Sorry,
are you threading the pewter? Are you threading the pewter exactly the same way, thread chasing it just like you did that wood?
Absolutely, yeah, exactly the same tools. Yeah, the pewter is soft enough that whatever tools you use for turning wood, you can use for turning pewter. And I cut the threads with the thread chasers in exactly the same way. I have got a threading jig that I bought last year, but I've been doing it for nearly 20 years without one, so I don't need that. But I thought, yeah, it was on special offer, and I thought, yeah, why not? So I bought one. But how much I'll use it, I don't know. But I'll start off with this piece of wood between centers. I've got the grain running along there, so I'm treating this as a spindle. You can see on the end grain there, this is from probably quite a large tree, and the growth rings are relatively flat. So hopefully that will be a relatively stable piece of wood.
For members interested, Kim has put up some email or some website addresses for the hollowing tools, Amazon, robertsorby.com, and a few others. You can appreciate that input. And if you look at the kits from Sorby, one of the kits has got an adjustable gauge that you can determine the inside thread and outside thread using. If you set one, you can set the other using the gauge.
Yeah, that's right. There's a sizing gauge. I wouldn't say it's 100% foolproof. I've used that before.
No, I'm the fool that can't make it work.
But they get it certainly gets you very close. So it might just take a little bit of a tweak. But so yeah, it's not bad. Gets you pretty close to where you need to be. Right, we'll stick with the overhead one, I think. Right, so I just want to turn this down to a cylinder initially. So I'm just going to turn the corners off it.
Could you go camera left a little bit?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Much better, sir. Thank you.
All right, we'll go with that. So when you start with a spindle roughing gouge, start on the wood and cut towards the corner rather than starting on the corner and cutting in, because that way you won't chip the corners off. You see that gap's opening up quite a bit between the rest and the wood, so I'm just going to move the rest in. A little bit more to go. I'm not too worried if there might be the odd bit of a flat there, because I think what I'm going to do is put this in the chuck, and 9 times out of 10 you put a piece of wood in the chuck and it runs off a bit anyway, so I'd have to true it up. So at that point I would remove any remaining flat. So I put my parting tool on the end. I just want to create a spigot. I've set my dividers here, my calipers, to the size of the spigot I want to create, and they've got nice rounded tips, so I can run that against the wood with the lathe running. Until I get to the size I want. Nearly there. I'm using a set of 1.5-inch jaws. That's about it. So create the spigot, same the other end. I'll need to dovetail that, but I'll do that in a second. And I'll also need to check the length of these spigots. The jaws I'm using are the O'Donnell jaws, and they're very shallow jaws. They've only got about a 5mm depth on the jaw. So I've got to cut my spigot fairly accurately to 4mm or so, because I want my spigot shorter than the depth of the jaw. That's about it. Let's just square that off. So that's my dovetails, or my spigots cut. I just want to get a ruler and, as I said, check the length of those, because these jaws are Right, keep headbutting the camera with my visor. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's pretty much 4 millimeters. This end, it's we'll get the ruler in, so a bit of guesswork there. I think that's slightly too long. Just clean up the ends. And then to create the dovetail, I'm just going to use a spindle gauge and come in on the edge of the spigot, cut in. Likewise on the other end.
We told y'all we'd have an interpreter come in, and our interpreter wants you all know.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to work in inches on big numbers and millimeters on small numbers.
Well, yeah, we don't want somebody to be confused because you're speaking English.
So that's my, you see it's got a bit of a flat there, but as I said, I'm not too worried about that. I just want to figure out which end of this is going to be the top, which is going to be the bottom. It all looks pretty good, to be honest. I'll make this side the top, and then it's where am I going to split that? So I need to allow, let's say the top's going to have the external thread. So I need enough length for the lid plus the thread. So, but that old rule of thumb of cutting it into thirds, 1/3, 2/3, or if you want to go down the technical route, this golden ratio. 2 tips for you. One is white pencils. If you've got a dark piece of wood, white pencils are brilliant. So I can make that line, and with a white pencil, it's just so much easier to see. And here, another one for you, a golden ratio ruler. So I can measure the whole length of it, and I've got 2 different sets of numbers, so I can work out how much of it to actually split. So if I say that's a 3-inch blank, then dividing it by the golden ratio, that becomes just under 2, sort of 1.9. So I could go for 2/3, 1/3, and work it out with this. But I mean, I just normally eyeball it. But anyway, if you want to do it the technical way, then do it with that. But somewhere between those 2 lines, I think, is where I want to be for my parting cut to separate the 2 halves. So it is about, give or take, 2/3, 1/3. So I'll part that with a narrow parting tool. I've got one of these. It's about 2 millimeters, or just over 1/16 of an inch width. So I don't waste too much wood. I mean, this is expensive stuff, so I don't want to waste too much of it. And also, if I'm trying to grain match the 2 halves, the less wood I waste in the middle, the better. I'm losing a bit from the parting cut, and I'm losing a bit for either a spigot or a thread, whichever I choose. So it makes sense to try and minimize that loss. And I'm just going to push this in, and as I do, I'm just wiggling it slightly just to widen that groove. And also, I started off with the tool pretty much running on the bevel, and then perhaps if I switch to the side camera, you get a better view of this.
We don't get any view right now.
Let me just
in the way.
Okay, now we're back.
Here we are.
That's better. So I'll start off with the tool. As I cut in, I bring the handle up to make it horizontal. So that's, as I'm going in, I'm making it more horizontal. How's that with both? So now I'm part way in. I'm almost horizontal with the tool, and I'm still wiggling it slightly just to widen that groove so it bites less. But also I'm going to take another cut, another half width of the tool or so, just to widen it. Because I don't want this tool binding in that groove. We'll cut on in. And I'm just alternating the cut in the groove until I get close to the center. I'm down to less than 1/4 of an inch there now, probably not much more than 1/8. So I'll stop at that point. I don't want to go all the way through and have that slam shut on the tool. So I'll stop there, remove the piece of wood, and you can see there, let me just try and get the tool in, the wood in the right place.
You go.
How much there is there. Not a huge amount, but it's enough to hold it together. There you go. There. There's just literally a bit more than 1/8. So at that point, I can just twist and break that. I'm turning the center away on both sides, so the damage doesn't matter. If it did matter, I'd saw it off. But yeah, you can just snap it off. So at that point, I can do that. So now I need to work on one or the other, and I'll start with the lid. I'll form the inside of the lid. So I now need to mount a chuck.
Well, he's changing chucks, folks. This is Paul Hannaby. He's out of United Kingdom, one of our members, and he does some great videos. Just check him up. It's Paul Hannaby Creative Woodcraft, Creative Wood Turning? Creative Wood Turning. And he's doing this demonstration for us.
I got it. Right, so I've got my spigot in there, and that depth is pretty good. There's a gap between the bottom of the spigot and the bottom of the jaw, and that's exactly what I want, because I want the jaw, the top of the jaw, to run on this machined surface.
When you put it up there, you see the offset way down in there, folks. You see the little bit of gap. You're looking for that. And all
And
your
you can see there, when I've got that tightened, I've got about well, just over 1/8 of an inch gap, between 1/8 and 1/4 inch gap. And at that point, those jaws are forming a complete circle. So I've got maximum contact between the set of jaws and the spigot that I've cut. So it's good to get the sizing right on that. So this is the end of the box. In fact, I'm going to leave the end for now. I'm going to do the outside initially. I'm going for a fairly simple shape on this box, just a simple curve. So at this point, I'm thinking in my mind, how big do I want the hole in the box and the thread or the spigot, whichever it happens to be. In this case, I'm trying to produce a thread. So that's what's sort of almost in my mind. Where am I going to go with the actual dimensions of the hole? Because at this point, that's what I'm trying to form. So I'll cut a long enough. This is where I'm going to form my thread. So I want to cut a long enough section to form a decent thread. And then I'm thinking, what diameter do I want to go to? A bit more than that, maybe. Yeah, we'll go for that. So again, just form a square shoulder and a parallel cylinder to form my thread. And I've gone in, well, a good 1/4 of an inch distance wise to allow me plenty of space to form that thread. I'm just looking for a round scraper. If you don't want to get a gouge in there, you can always get your round scraper and Form that radius with a half round scraper just to strike the thread. Okay, so that's the preparation for the thread. I also need to put in my recess. So again, I can come in here on the right up against the shoulder with this narrow parting tool. This is a 2mm parting tool, I think, and cut about 1/16 of an inch or so depth of a recess, and then that's ready for me to form a thread. So I'll bring my speed back down 400 RPM ish. I'm going to go for an 18 teeth per inch thread, so slightly finer than the one I just did as the practice one. Just give me a bit more space between the rest and the wood. And we've got, yeah, it's about 450 RPM there. So I'm cutting pretty much on center height, start on that corner. The thread's starting to form. And this time I'm going slower because this should form me a one start thread. The spiral started to form. And with each cut, I'm bringing the tool around.
Oh, can you form left hand and right hand threads with the same tool?
Yes, just about. It's easier to do with the finer teeth than bigger ones. I did a demo a little while ago and I demonstrated how to do it. This piece I used earlier, let me just turn that off. This piece I used earlier, these two threads I just cut for the purposes of this demo are left-hand threads. The one on the end is a right-hand thread. And the difference between the two is you start off at the end of the thread and cut to the left if you want a left-hand thread, a right-hand thread, sorry. To cut a right-hand thread, you start on this end and you cut to the right. So you just go in the opposite direction with the tool. But as Eddie was saying earlier, there's a bit of a bias on the end of the teeth. So what I would do, switch to that camera. Normally, I would use the thread chaser there, pretty much on center, and you're going to get the front of the teeth engaging in those grooves. But to do a left-hand thread, what I'd do is I'd tip the tool up a bit and probably drop it a little bit. So you see there, I've got less of the front of the teeth in contact with the wood. Mm-hmm. And that's on this sort of pitch, on a 16 or an 18, that works. And you can do a left-hand thread.
Because you eliminate the bevel.
Yeah, you're sort of working against the bevel in a way. So it doesn't make it easy for yourself, but it will work. I did try the same with a 10 teeth per inch thread chaser. And that bias has that much more of an effect. It was very difficult to do. I just about sort of did it, and it sort of worked, and then it didn't. And then with a coarser pitch thread chaser. So I'll continue with this one. The thread's about half formed, so I need to go deeper. Let me just switch back to my dual view. And what I want to do is cut until I've got fully formed teeth, but go no further. If you try to keep going beyond that point, you start to tear the tops of the threads. So you start making a mess of it. So I want to cut to the point where the teeth are fully formed and then stop. And I also want this thread to be a parallel thread. So I'm looking at where the tool is and checking my tool is pretty much at 90 degrees to the bed. So that means the end of that tool is presented parallel to the cylinder. So that should give me, hopefully, a parallel thread. That looks pretty close to being a full depth. I'm just going to get in closer. Just a slight flat on the top, so another pass or two. But at that point, I'm almost at my last cut. So what I want to do, if I can find it. Ah, there it is. Essential tool. So for the last couple of cuts, I've got some wax here. This is Renaissance wax, but whatever your chosen wax is, put a little bit on a toothbrush and just rub that into the thread. What I want to do here is lubricate the cut. So the last couple of cuts are going to be, hopefully, a better cut, a smoother cut.
I want to go on record. I want to go on record with Ronnie. I didn't do that to your toothbrush, Ronnie.
Yeah, use somebody else's toothbrush is my advice on that one.
That's right. Yes. Oh, that made a lot of difference.
So I'm getting shavings coming off it still, but you can see it's different. And I've sort of almost cut through the wax now, I think. So if I went any further than that, I'd lubricate it some more, I think. But I think that's pretty much fully formed. So at that point, I'll consider the thread complete. What I want to do is clean up this shoulder. I could have done that before I did the thread, but doesn't matter too much whether you do it before or after, as long as you do it, because that will be a finished part of the box. So I'll bring my speed back up now. I'm just going to use the side of my parting tool just to use it like a scraper on the side of that shoulder. So hopefully that'll give me a good sort of fine edge, because that's a difficult one to sand without getting abrasive in and damaging the thread. So I'm just trying to do it with very light cuts, and it's not using the tip of the parting tool. I'm actually using the wing as my cutting edge. This one I find works particularly well with that, because when I sharpen this one, I run the wheel against that top bevel and against the bottom one, so I effectively sharpen this as well, so I can use that in the same way and just run the edge against the surface I'm trying to cut there. So they both work. Right, so that's my shoulder cut. I need to do the inside of the lid now. Remember, this is at this point when it's held in the shut, you need to do all you need to do on the bottom of the lid. So I need to shape that, hollow it, do whatever I've got to do with it. So I've got a 3/8 inch spindle gauge here, and I've set my tool rest up, so I'm cutting pretty much on center. The other thing, let's do that first. I'll get my head of myself here. That thread is far too long. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitches there, so I need to turn that lid 6 full turns to put it on the box. That's far too many. So what I want to do now is actually lose half of that. So I only need to turn it probably 3 times to get the lid on. So I'm just going to part away half of the thread. Okay, what I've also done now is created a sharp edge on the thread. So I'm just sort of guessing the angle of the edge of the thread, and I'm just beveling it. It's about, well, I think these are British with thread, so it's just under 60 degrees, 57 degrees or something like that. So I'm just taking that sharp front face off. So because if you leave that sharp edge, it literally sort of comes down to nothing, and it leaves a very sort of fragile edge that will get damaged. So removing that removes the chances of that happening. So that's my finished thread, and now I just need to do the inside of the end of the box. Just hang it down a little bit. So I'm not going to do anything too elaborate with this, just going to cut into the center, just to put a curved recess basically into the lid of this. And this is spindle orientation, so I should actually be cutting the other way. I'm cheating a little here, I'm cutting against the grain. But I know that I've got quite a dense wood here. I'm using this king wood. It's quite dense, so I'm cheating a little. What I should be doing is cutting center to edge instead of edge to center to cut with the grain. But I can do a few cuts and then use a scraper and cut it the proper way from center to edge. So that allows me to use the gouge to do the sort of remove the bulk of the waste. And I could finish it with this. This is a half round scraper, by the way, but as you can see, it's on a round bar. I quite like this for box work because you can angle it any way you want on the rest, and it's a really nice tool to put anywhere you want.
Who makes that scraper? Or did you make it, Paul? Hey, Paul?
Sorry?
Who makes that scraper? Or did you make it yourself?
I did.
Okay.
No, it was one that was something else. I can't remember what it was. It was a quadrant tool or something like that, I think they call it. But I ground that myself. But all I did was ground the end till I was half thickness and then just put a fingernail grind on it. So that's a homemade tool. But yeah, it came as an off-the-shelf tool. It was a crown tool, I believe. But I just reground the tip because I wanted that instead of what it was sold as. Another one that I find quite useful.
Would you call that a scoochie? Would you call that a scoochie gouge?
It's very similar to that, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. When I made that many years ago, I'd never heard of a scoochie gouge, but since then I saw one. I thought, oh, that's very similar to what I've got. But yes, it is very similar to that. It might not be the same, but it's certainly similar. This is another one I quite like with box making. It's got this cutout for undercutting the rim on the box, and I'll probably use that one and hollow in the bottom, but it's also got a nice wide curve on the end. So it's a good tool for sort of cleaning the center and finishing cuts on this. I'm just going to move my rest a little. Nope, don't want to do that. I'm just going to raise the rest. It's grabbing because I think I just had the handle too low. But if I trail it slightly, it should cut without grabbing. It's better. So I'll just turn that center to make sure I get rid of any of those marks I might have created when it grabbed. And then draw it up the side. And a tip, if you're not sure on finding the center, if you put the tool where the center is and just lift the handle up and down a little bit, just wiggle it up and down, then you'll remove any little pimple that might be there. So that's the inside, hopefully done. Just a tiny mark there, so I'm just going to take another cut to get rid of that. Whoop. It's even worse than the first one. That's better. So that's the inside done. I just need to sand that. My adhesive's there. I'm not going to put any sealer on that. I'm just going to sand it as is and wax it. For the outside of the box, I'll probably put sealer on, but not the inside. Just drop the speed down a bit as well. I don't want to overcook this and put heat into the wood that might cause that surface checking that can sometimes happen. I mean, it's quite a dense wood, and they seem to be quite often susceptible to that surface heat checks. If you put too much heat into it at the sanding stage, and I'm just going to sand the end of that as well. I've started off with a 180 grit here. Being a fairly dense wood, all being well, I should get a good enough cut to be able to do that. Now I'm on 240. And as with any of these sort of sanding processes, what I'm trying to do with that first grit is to remove any tool marks, tool grain, bumps, ridges, etc. And then the subsequent grits just take out the scratches left by the previous abrasive. So, and here I'm using a 2-inch wide cloth abrasive. I'm folding it in half just to get a narrower section, folding it in half long way. So I'm using effectively an inch wide strip. Yeah, I get less catches when I'm not turning at 2 AM. Right, that's 320, and I'll go down to 400 with this. And again, folding that in half. I tend to use the 2-inch stuff for most of what I do, I suppose, and I think it's just a comfortable sort of width to work with. Seems to work. When I used to buy 4-inch stuff, I used to tear it in half anyway. So in the end, I thought, why don't I just do it the easy way and buy the 2-inch? And I'm just gonna, with the last grit going on that shoulder, and just give it a quick sort of touch against that. If I did the right thing with the parting tool, it should be fairly cleanly cut, so it shouldn't need too much. So at that stage, I've still got a bit of wax left on my toothbrush here, so I'll use that to put a bit of wax onto that. And then buff that. This is well, they call it safety cloth, but it's paper really. This stuff just tears rather than causing any problems if it was to catch on the chuck or anything like that. So much safer than using a woven cloth. So that's the inside of the box done.
What's the wax mixed with? Mineral oil?
Pardon?
What's the wax mixed with? Do you mix it with mineral oil?
No, it's just out of the tin, Renaissance wax,
Oh, okay. Okay.
just off the shelf product.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's
good
the
to know.
inside. There you go.
Beauty.
See that? So on to the other half of the box now. And I'll mount that in the chuck in exactly the same way. You'll notice when I put it in the chuck, I'm just pushing the center of the blank rather than holding it and risking it rocking. If I just push the center against the jaws of the chuck, it should seat itself correctly. And that should be running true. Well, as true as it's going to be. There's never a guarantee, is there? So, the outside needs a little bit turning away, but I'm not worried about that at this stage. What I want to do is clean off this front face and then work on the hollowing. So to clean that front face off, I'm being quite a dense wood. I could actually use a scraper on this, but I'll go for a spindle gouge anyway. Either would work. Just want to drop the rest slightly. Cut that all the way to the center, and I can even use my switch to the other camera. I can even use my spindle gouge with the flute pointing at my left shoulder, so about 10 o'clock, as a scraper. So I'm using that left wing to give me a scraping cut, and if I lower the handle, I get more of a shearing cut as well. So so I can take just on the outer edge, take a couple of finer cuts just to smooth that a bit. I'm just going to remove my tail stock, because this being the short bed lathe, it does get in the way sometimes. So when I'm hollowing, it doesn't give me an awful lot of room with that there. So I'll move that out of the way. I'll just bring my rest up just a little. What I'm aiming for here is to get my gouge exactly on center when I hold it horizontally, because I'm just going to use the gouge to effectively drill the hole. Nearly there. There. So that's pretty much on. I can just push that straight in. That one's just left a little dimple, so I'm just going to cut that away. Again with my flute pointing at 10 o'clock. And then once I've cleaned that away, I can push it in and drill. Let's have the other camera. There you go. So I'm just using that to drill a start hole basically. And I'm just gauging the depth against the side. I'm putting my thumb where I want to stop. So I'll drill in a bit. When my thumb reaches the rest, I know I've gone deep enough. So that's deep enough. So that's the initial hole, and I can turn my gouge over and use it as a hollowing tool now and cut from center to edge with my flute at about 10 o'clock. So that's one way of hollowing. I could also use this half range scraper. That's quite a good hollowing tool. Use it in exactly the same way, but just angle the not the bevel, but angle the tool so it's just the flat is pointing at about 11 o'clock now. So if I want to make that less aggressive, I angle it more anti-clockwise, and if I want to make it more aggressive, I turn it a little bit more clockwise. So that's another option. With something this size, you obviously wouldn't want any sort of big hollowing tool, but the gouge is probably the favorite here. On a deeper box or a square bottom box, I might use this tool. Let's go to that camera. This one is a square scraper, square on the end, but again made out of a round bar, and again a homemade one. This one, I've also got a cutting edge on the side, and that's not quite square on the end. It's got a slight angle on it, and it's about 90 degrees to this, or just under 90 degrees. So I can cut straight in with it as a hollowing tool, and I can also cut sideways with it. So if I'm cutting a square bottom box, that's a really good tool to use for that. In this case, I'm making a rounded bottom box, so I'll stick with my gouge for the time being. What I've got to bear in mind is not to make that hole bigger than my thread. So if I just get my dividers here, and I'll set that to just a little bit smaller than the thread, so I'm allowing myself a little bit of leeway, and I can hold that up there and just see how far away I am, and I can come a little bit wider. What I'll probably do with this box is to undercut the thread at the back. So I'm just going to roughly hollow this out initially. Let's just get the size on that. A little bit more to go. But what I'm going to do now, because I want to make a parallel straight spigot, I'm going to use this square scraper with a cutter on the side to cut the side of this box. And again, just check with my dividers, see where I am. Yeah, I've got a little bit more to go. And you see now I'm actually pulling the tool toward my left hand and cutting sideways with it, cutting outwards from the spindle there. Check it again. Yeah, I'm about there with the dividers. So that's as far as I want to go. So I just want to put that back in there. Just try and get that as parallel as I can, because I'm trying to make effectively two parallel cylinders that are going to sort of join together when you put the two halves of the box together. So it's important that that is parallel. And to check it, I've got here a set of internal calipers that I can set up to the bottom of that and slide it up and down and see if I've got roughly the same pressure as I go up and down. You soon get a feel for whether it's sort of getting looser at one end or the other, and it is slightly, so I think there's a slight taper on that.
Paul, your main goal is to make the opening in the bottom the same size or just slightly under the size of the threads?
Yeah, I'm cutting this under the size of the threads, yeah. So when I form the thread initially, the thread will be undersized. So I'll then size the thread to fit. The question earlier about do I do the external or internal thread first? I prefer to do it the other way, but in this instance, I went for the external thread, and then I'll be sizing the internal thread to fit it. So you start off with a slightly undersized hole, so it's going to be too tight, too small, and then I open it up till it fits. That's the plan. So I'm just checking with my dividers, my calipers, and that's still got, seems to have a very slight tape on it. So just take another cut there. That seems better. Another way you can check that is if you find something like a small ruler, anything that you know is straight. A ruler's obvious choice, but what I'm going to do is put that in their hole and push it against the edge of the hole. Wiggle it till it looks right, and then I'm going to look down from above and see if the edge of that ruler is parallel to my bed bars. If it is, then there's a very good chance that that cylinder, that hole is parallel. If it doesn't look quite parallel to the bed bars, then it's got a slight taper on it, and I think that's still got a slight taper. So take another slight cut from the bottom of the hole. Hopefully that should do it. You could do this with a twist drill or something like that. Anything that you know is straight, as a straight piece of steel rod, anything like that. But just make sure it's seated against the edge of that hole as far in as you can get it, and look along the edge of the ruler against the edge of the bed bars, and I think now that's parallel. So that's ready to take a thread. What I need to do is just get rid of some of that additional material in the hole. So I'm going to switch to my half range scraper again and just open up the bottom of the box a little more. But I'm just cutting up to the shoulder where I've prepared for the thread. I'm not cutting into that parallel bit that I've just created. That's okay. So at this stage, I need to make that recess for my internal thread to have a run out. So I've got my recess tool, and where I use that is it goes in the hole. I'll do it on top of the wood, but it goes in the hole, and then you can see there's a length that you leave for the thread, and then you cut the groove. And the idea of that groove is so you run into the groove before you bottom out into the box. There's a remnant of a pencil line there where I've used this in the past, so that's probably not a bad place to aim for with this. So I'll just bring my rest in a bit. I want, again, cutting with this at about center height, so I'm looking at the pencil line on the top of the tool to be on the edge of the hole, and that will give me a long enough thread for me to work with. I'll probably again reduce the length of that afterwards, but as before, it helps to have a slightly longer thread to work with. So I just want to cut that in again to a depth of about 1/16 of an inch or so. That's about deep enough. And I also need that radius on the front corner. So to start the thread. So back to my half range scraper, just radius that front corner, and that should be prepared to start a thread. So I want to move my rest back a bit, give me a bit of space, drop the rest to allow for the thickness of the tool. And now I'm going to use the other thread chaser to do the internal thread. And again, start at about 45 degrees, push in. So I start on the outside and push inwards, and then back out and then back in. So now I'm forming effectively setting up a movement that's a bit like a clockwise circle. So I go in, forward, back round. Yes.
Can you move the camera a little bit to the right so we can see the opening of the box?
Probably better with that one, is it? Hang on, where's that gone? One of my cameras just died. Hang on a sec.
Camera either died or you need to add a lot of light.
Mighty dark inside that box.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's pretty deep, Ronnie.
Get this camera back up.
I guess I got what I asked for.
You can't move the camera to the right, push the lathe to the left.
There you go.
Pays 11. Just me, or has nobody seen anything either?
No, we're not seeing anything, but he's working.
Okay. Just making sure, because I had issues with my Wi-Fi again. Had to plug in network cables.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, I was just trying to get the other one working. It's for some reason decided not to work.
Right. We're watching Paul Hannaby out of the United Kingdom turn this box with a threaded lid. He's threaded the top already. Now we're creating the bottom. And he's given us a lot of detail on how to conform, how to make them work out. Match is the thing. If they don't match, they don't work. You're tuned into worldwidewoodturners.org, and we meet every Wednesday evening like this. And we've got about 100 people tuned in tonight and visiting with us. And we need your input. You got input, you can give it to us. You got questions, you can ask them. You got problems, well, we can't fix them, but we'll give you some ideas. But we've got a challenge going right now. And the challenge starts real soon, but you can do it now. It's to make a wig stand. Ronnie has made 10 today because he wants to get way out in front of this challenge. But he's challenging you and your wood turning club. You and your club, your friend members, to turn wig stands. When you do, let our master website master, our master webmaster, know that you've turned them, and he'll have a page on our website or worldwidewoodturners.org, which will have those names and who they've turned. And if you send photographs, we'd love to see the work. We'd love to see the work. I'm going to pull the spotlight off of there we go. Now he may be back with us.
Yeah, I'm having trouble getting this side camera back up. I don't know why. Just decided to stop. Oh, I see. Leads come out.
It's unplugged.
I've got an extension lead on it, and that had become disconnected, which didn't help. That's better. Right, so that's the one it should be on. Do you need more light on that? Probably do, don't you? Let's see if I can put another light over there.
Oh,
yeah, being
what
a
kind of
dark
cameras
wood.
do you use?
Sorry?
Are you using webcams or other type of
Yeah,
cameras?
they are. Yeah, USB webcams. Right then. What can
Yeah,
we...
the other thing, it's 2:30 in the morning over there. We appreciate it, Paul.
That's okay.
You know, Martin didn't make it tonight. Martin went out of country, out of his country. We haven't seen Martin.
Right now, we have a better picture tonight than what we had Saturday on a local club meeting. This is a great picture.
Right, so hopefully that's enough light to see what's going on. And
now we got it. We're cooking now.
Yeah, Paul, I just picked up another good idea from you too, looking at your outboard banjo and the light mount you've got in it.
Yeah, it's that was actually, this lathe used to belong to Ray Key, and that was something that Ray made. He would use it's, as I said, it's a short bed one way, and on the outboard end is a bed extension, a 17-inch bed extension, and he would use that predominantly as where he worked. He would turn bowls on it, and that little bracket on the light, you can see there the bottom of the angle poise lamp, was on the inboard banjo, because he would predominantly work on the outboard, but I've switched them round, so you can do it either way. But yeah, it's
That's a great
that's
idea.
quite a neat idea.
I may have to incorporate
To
that.
slacken that off, pull this out, you see it's just a piece of wood with a spigot on it, and the light screwed onto it. Let me just go and grab that piece of wood. Got it. So yeah, that just sits in the banjo there, and then you put your angle poise light in there.
I love it.
But yeah, that was Ray's idea, not mine. But it came with the lathe, so yeah, very useful.
We have the shoulder made, we have it undercut, and now we're going to start placing some threads, correct?
Yeah. So we've got, let me just move that camera so you can see the important bit. That's better. Good. Right, so I've got my internal chaser to start chasing this thread. Again, drop my speed down to about 400, 450. And I'll start cutting this at 45 degrees. So I'll push forward. I think I'm slightly low with the rest. It doesn't feel like it's biting, so I just need to, that's better. I'm keeping the tool flat on the rest here. That isn't quite biting, so I'm just raising the rest slightly. There we are, 450. Yeah, that's about right on the speed. It's not taking yet. I can't feel it sort of pulling itself in. I don't know if it's me just pulling it too fast. I'm just going to clean that off and start again. It doesn't feel right. So I'll just re-radius that front corner back down to 450 RPM, and the other thing, if in doubt, sharpen the tool. So I'm doing exactly that. Okay, that's all right.
Keep in mind, folks, he sharpened up because this cuts with that edge just like a scraper. Okay.
This time it seems to have struck. So I'm gradually bringing my tool around. So I'm cutting into the hole. To try and get myself a parallel thread. I'm not convinced that's going right. I've got a spiral there, but I'm just have my doubts that it's actually right. I'm just going to do my pencil trick just to check this. Yeah, as I thought, that's a 2-start thread, so I'm going too fast there. So I'm just going to turn that away. Again, one of the benefits of starting small, it gives you a little bit of leeway. If you get it wrong the first time, you can turn that away, and then you've still got enough left to recover it. So I've got my radius on the front corner. I've just left a little bit of a corner there, so knock that off. Speed down to 450, and this time a little bit slower with the tool. So as before, I want to cut to the full depth of the form of the teeth. Or virtually to the full depth, should I say. So about there, let's stop there, just push some of that dust out. So that should be too small, and it is. So what I need to do is enlarge that, and the way to do that is to go back to the flat scraper, and I'll as I said earlier, if you keep turning with the thread chasing tool, once you've got a fully formed teeth, you start to crumble the tops of the teeth. So it's not a good idea just to keep going with that until you get to the size you want. What you want to do at this stage is go back up to turning speed. You use a flat scraper or a gouge or whatever you want. Just turn half the teeth away. Take the tops off the teeth, but leave enough so you've got something to lead the tool. And then we cut it to the full depth again. So we're sort of creeping up on the right size by recutting the teeth, the thread here. And then let's have another look. That looks like it's about full depth again. So again, we can bring this up and check, and we're still too small. So same again. Speed it up. Take half the teeth away. Drop the speed back down. About 450-ish. And then we'll have another go. This is, I think I probably started off pretty small here, so I've got a ways to go to get to where I want. But as I said earlier, if you allow yourself a good margin, if you do mess up the thread on the first attempt, you can cut it away as I did, and then go for it again. So this is going to take a few goes to sort of cut it to get out to the diameter I want to be at. But the other benefit of doing it this way and allowing a bit of a margin there is that radius I cut on the front, I'm basically removing that as I go. So the radius is no longer needed. So so by doing it this way, you lose that entire radius. Yeah, I was probably a little bit overcautious with that. I went considerably undersized, really.
Well, it's really a hard thing to put it back.
I think I've also reached the point here where I've basically cut away that recess that I've formed. So what I ideally now want to do is to cut that recess at the back a little bit deeper to give me that run out again. So let me find my recess tool. And bring that speed up. Take that to the back of the hole. Cut that a couple of millimeters deep again. And we need to widen it some more, so I'm going to take a little bit more thread off. And then recut. I just need to move my rest out a little bit. We're getting closer, but more to go. If the full height of this thread is about 1/16 of an inch, which probably isn't far off, then if I'm cutting half of that away each time I do this, I'm enlarging it by a 32nd at a time, aren't I? So just to give you a sort of rough idea of the sort of sizes that we're working with.
With my threading tools, the internal threads are 55 thousandths deep and the externals are 38 thousandths.
Sorry?
The thread depth for the tools that I have, the internal threads are 55 thousandths deep and the externals or 38,000.
Okay. And what pitch are they?
16.
Okay, yeah. So they probably won't be far off what these are. These are 18 I'm using at the moment, but won't be a huge difference. Now I'm just working on the sort of the rough assumption that the thread form is an equilateral triangle. It isn't quite, but if it was, the width would be not far off what the height is, but I know it doesn't quite work like that, does it? But we're not too far out. Right, we still under. I've lost my recess again, so I'll get my recess tool back in. There's half the thread. Right, we're just getting to the point where it's taking, but it's too tight. So I'm just going to check the thread, and I think I can probably just do another couple of cuts without opening that out. But what I will do is as I'm getting very close, is just to put a bit of wax on it, as I did with the external thread. Yeah, I've yet to find anything better than a toothbrush for doing that. This seems to be the ideal tool for the job there.
Especially somebody else's.
Sorry?
Especially somebody else's toothbrush.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
That might be a reason woodturners don't do away retreats together, you know? It's keep an eye on your stuff. Looks enough.
Right, so try that again.
Yeah, there we go.
So it's going in, but it's just too tight. So I know I've got to take a bit more off. And again, I think it's still slightly flat at the tops of the teeth. So
That binding will also happen if one or the other is not truly parallel to the axis.
yeah, hopefully it is. But as I'm cutting, yeah, that's going in now. There we go. I think that's still just a tad on the tight side, but I'm not going to cut any more yet. I'm just going to put some wax in it. Give it a bit of lubrication. Put that back in. It's very easy just to overshoot and take off too much, and then you've got two threads that are just a little bit loose. I'll show you one of those in a minute. That's going in so far, and then it's going tight, so either that thread isn't quite parallel or there's something else wrong, but I think it's possibly that. It seems to go in the first couple of turns quite well, so I'll just adjust my angle of the tool slightly. cut deeper farther in. That's gone farther, but at that point it's very tight.
It's not bottoming out. No, it's not bottoming.
No, I was just checking the length of that, and it shouldn't be bottoming out. No, I think it's I need to cut that recess at the bottom, that's for sure. So I'll do that again just to make sure that that's not causing me the problem.
See, Ronnie, that's the way to really remove the dust right there.
No, I always tell people not to do that.
Ronnie wants me to buy a broom.
Yeah, what I do is keep this brush on my lathe all the time. So I should put that in there and turn it. So that's what I normally do. Tonight I'm getting into bad habits. But yeah, I shouldn't be doing that. I always say you shouldn't blow it out, because by doing so, you're getting your face close to where the dust is. And so you're blowing some of that dust back in your face. I'm just going to take the tops off these threads. A couple of turns there. And then slow it down. Back in with the wax on the toothbrush there. I'll just do another couple of passes with the tool. Just cut that thread a little bit deeper.
Just one more cut.
Yeah.
One more. That's all. Just one more.
I'll do it right this time. I'll use the brush.
Those famous last words. Just one last pass.
Yeah.
So Paul, you didn't explain why you should be blowing the dust around.
Sorry?
You didn't explain why you shouldn't be blowing dust around, because
Well,
you
to
suck
get your
it in.
face close enough to blow the dust, you're in the firing line when it starts coming back out, aren't you?
Yeah.
You don't
you're
close your
blowing that
eyes.
dust back in your face. So you could inhale some of it, you get it in your eye either. But that's going all the way now, all the way down. What I haven't got is grain alignment. That's still a little bit on the tight side, so I'm just going to do another cut just to ease that. So more wax. The one thing I like about this king wood is it has actually cut very nicely. So some woods tend to crumble and the threads are a little bit fiddly, but this is a really nice cut on the thread. So yeah, it's a good choice of wood. I think a lot of the rosewoods are potentially good for cutting threads on. Right, just take a little bit off. That's better.
That's nice fit.
Right at the end, it tightens up a little bit, but what I'm going to do is actually shorten that thread anyway, so potentially that shouldn't be a problem. Right, so that's the thread formed. Just run that in again, see how it goes a second time. As I said, we haven't got grain alignment. I'm going to spin this back until we have. I think that probably matches that one. It's there. So that's where the grain alignment should be. So to make that easier for myself, I'm going to find my white pencil.
Can you pop to the overhead camera?
Yeah, sorry.
Now we got it.
There you go. Right, so I've got the grain alignment, but to make it visually easier for myself, I just put a pencil line there. So that's what I'm working with. So I can figure out how far off I am from being perfectly aligned. It's only less than a quarter of a turn to get those lines matched. So what I need to do is to allow that lid to spin that extra 1/6 of a turn, let's say. I need to remove some wood, and I can do it in one or two places. I can either take it off the shoulder on the lid, but I've taken this out of the chuck and it's off the lathe, etc. So the obvious place is to take it off the face of the bottom of the box here. Let me switch to the side camera again. So where my finger is on this rim, that's where I need to take some wood away. And a 1/6 of a turn, remember we've got 18 teeth per inch thread chaser. So 18 turns, it gives me an inch. So one turn is an 1/18 of an inch. So let's talk in strange numbers here. So an 1/18 of an inch, and a 1/6 of a turn is a 1/6 of that. So let's go back to millimeters. An 1/18 of an inch is about 1.5 millimeters. A 1/6 of that is what, a quarter of a millimeter or so. So whatever that is in inches. But yeah, a couple of passes is what we're talking. Very light cut, quarter of a millimeter or so. So I'll take my speed up. Again, I can use my spindle gauge as a scraper. I've got my flute angled over.
Hey, Jeff, tell him that it's easy to take it off. It's hard to put it back on.
Exactly, yes. So we'll put this back on. Let's see where we are now.
Reverse is for?
So we're a bit closer. So whatever I just did, I've got to do about the same again. And you saw how much I took off there. Wasn't a huge amount.
One last cut, Jeff. One last cut.
Yeah, if I overshoot, the answer then is to take off a full turn. So then it becomes almost a 1/16 of an inch to remove. Not that that's a problem, but I'll try not to overshoot. How's that? I think by the time I've sanded that, that'll line up.
That's pretty good.
So I mean, it also depends on how tight you actually do it up. I don't want to have to really crank it up, but you see that is if I do it hard enough, it aligns. But I wouldn't normally do it that hard. So I'm not going to cut any more off that. We'll go with that. So now what we've got to do is
Paul, I'm sorry to say this, I have to call time on you.
Okay.
Folks, we got to get back to Paul and complete this one day. We hold on to it, Paul, and we can finish it up.
Yeah, either that or I'll finish it and I'll show it at the next meeting.
Okay, that'll work for us.
I mean, I've got another one here that's sort of at the same stage. So if you want to have a continuation of this and doing the rest of the box, but from here on in, it's basically turning an ordinary box, if you want to call it that. The thread chasing bit is the fiddly bit, if you like. But yeah, from there I mean, here's the one I said I did earlier. It's turned, it's got a thread, it needs the bottom hollowing out properly, and then the outside of that box can be shaped. But yeah, eventually that will look something like one of these, perhaps. That's what it's
That's nice.
But I find it's best to do the inside of the box first. You hollow it, you cut the threads, etc. You get the two halves fitted, and then finish it. But just before we do wind up, what I can do now with that base still in the chuck, what I can do here is to put my lid on, and then I can shape and finish the lid with it on the base of the box. So I only needed to do the inside of the box initially. So if you see what I mean. So now I can remove the chuck spigot off the end here. So I can turn that away and I can shape the lid and then shape the rest of the box. So I can finish it from there with that without taking that half out of the chuck.
So your
That's
jam
long
chuck
like-
is,
Yeah, and then all I need to do is jam chuck the base of the box somehow. I can make a stub with a matching thread to screw the bottom half of the box on. So that's one way of doing it.
that's a great demo, Paul. Real appreciate you walking us through threads. Brenda just said she enjoyed it, but she doesn't understand, didn't plan on doing threads. A lot of folks don't, and my friend Ron Brown has got a product out that is inserts that are inserts that have male and female, and they're made out of wood. So if you're not into making threads, you can add threads. But there's also some commercially made metal inserts that do that, and Lee Valley Veritas used to sell them. And I had them in 2 or 3 sizes. They make a nice addition to a beautiful piece of wood. And when you get the grain match, if you do the right texture on the outside and right finish and right way to handle that joint, you don't see the joint. It's just gone.
Hmm.
Well, Paul, again,
Yeah,
thank
but,
you, sir.
One idea with thread inserts, I've never done it myself, but somebody else mentioned some of the plumbing fittings you can buy. You can just cut the thread off and use that as a thread insert. So you get the 2 halves of the plumbing fitting, just cut the thread part off and set that into your box. So,
And
that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, well, I saw one that an urn was done with the PVC parts like that.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, if you're doing it with the PVC pipes, you really need to use electrical conduit instead of water pipe. The electrical conduit fittings are straight threaded where the pipe threadings are tapered. So the gray PVC electrical conduit is straight and it works much better. But I
Good.
like the way Paul did it. Thank you very much, Paul. That was a great demo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, yep, Paul came to help us
Paul.
tonight. And we have
That's
other
awesome.
we have other wood turners that get involved with us again. Paul, thank you, Paul. We will be back in touch with you, and I look forward to seeing that piece. That is really nice. We still got some folks out there tonight. It's a little bit after 9:00 p.m. Central Daylight Time, Central Standard Time. I don't know. But if you got a question or a problem, or you want to brag or show or whatever, this is a place to do it. We're going to stay here for a little while and do that. So if you're up, you're up. Let's hear from you. Oh, yeah. Oh, quiet. Okay. You're still there. I can hear you breathing. Okay. Yeah, see, I thought so. All right. Well, if that's it, we're going to wrap it up for the evening. We'll wrap it up. Hey, it's your chance. It's your chance right now. Right now.
Hey, I got one there, Eddie.
All right. We don't see you, Jeff, but you can talk.
Oh, hold on. Jason. This minute.
Got to pay that bill. All right.
There I am.
Jason, all right, I got you now.
Yeah, let me see if I can share a photo here. There you go.
Nope.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Well, that was a birthday present for my brother-in-law. So
I like the way the stopper matches the shot glasses. That's really cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Is
So
What
that's what
did
I've
you
been
seal
up
the
to.
inside of the glasses with, Jason?
They're not sealed.
Okay.
They're torched.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Are you going to leave them torched? Not going
No,
to.
No, it's white oak, charred on the inside, just like a whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
Right. That's really cool combination. Yeah.
That
Thank
is
you.
sharp. That was really
Wait,
cute.
wait. I'm gonna turn the compressor off. You don't want it cutting on and off all night, do you?
Nope.
All right. I'm going to Jason, you got to let us go because we're not. I can't get off. There you go.
There
Those
you
are
go.
cool.
Yeah,
Nice
it's
job.
been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I got a couple of hollow forms, Eddie.
Sorry, go ahead. I got you.
All right, ready?
Now I am.
Okay. Oh, look at my hair.
No, I
Congrats.
saw Jeff's. I don't need to see yours.
All right. This is boy, that's washed out. This is maple and holly. Let me see if I
Further back, the further back you pull it to you, the better we see it. There you go.
Right. But
That's nice.
That's one. Oh, that one bounced. That's a Buckeye burrow.
Whoa,
Oh, very nice.
pretty piece of wood. Pretty piece of wood.
Wow. What's the
Very
finial
nice.
made out of?
African blackwood.
I like that big smile on it.
Huh?
I like that big smile on the front of that one. That
Oh, yeah. And then this is my favorite one.
Ooh. Oh.
Ooh.
It's nice.
Did you paint it
Nice.
or carbon
That's-
fiber
that's-
it or?
That's painted with those iridescent paints. And to get the effect on it, I use, I probably shouldn't say it, hooker stockings.
Fishnet stockings.
Fishnet stockings.
Yeah, I'd rather that than the other term.
Yeah.
And
That's cool.
That looks great.
Nice.
out in the sunlight, it's fantastic.
Oh my goodness.
Makes me wonder where you
Were
got
you
the
a big boy
stockings
in my
from.
potty?
Let go of the finial on that. Let me see the
Were you the
finial.
good boy went out potty?
Might have borrowed them
There
from
you
Doug.
go.
I have a question.
That is pretty.
The
Thank
question
you.
is, are you gonna sleep in here with mommy again? Are you gonna
Okay.
desert
Hey,
me and
Trey.
sleep in
Hey,
here with
Trey.
mommy?
Trey,
I'm
you're
done.
not
Thank
muted.
you.
All right, sir. Thank you for showing it tonight. We've got a lot of comments in a chat tonight. That's why that little thing's problem. It says save the chat. Go to the chat right now. I'm going to go right now, and I'm going to press on the chat button and then say save the chat. It's going to be on my computer, and I'm going to be able to see Cade just posted a little note about a thin-walled, large edge-wing bowl demonstration. Hey, you get all that stuff through us. That's where it's at. Who popped up just now? Terry, did you have something for gallery?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I just want to show you a little thing for Jeffrey. He makes his for his whiskey barrels.
Pull it back. Pull it back to you. Pull
Make a little keg.
it back towards you. There you go.
This around, it's got a little bucket, little whiskey keg on the front and a valve. The valve actually works. It's just a little whiskey barrel. It's all one piece. It's all burned and sitting on the stand. It's actually a threaded box.
Pull it back towards you again, sir. There you go.
Oh, wow.
Threaded box.
That's awesome. So what did that hold? About a double shot?
I don't know. I don't drink, so.
Hold the Mickey.
I don't either.
I
But
thought
I'm
you'd
gonna
like
take
to see that.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you showing us tonight. John B. Said he's got something to show. He's out of Phoenix, Arizona. John, talk to me, sir.
Hey, guys. This is something that my grandfather made. It's a checkerboard. Okay. Now, it's not wood turning, but the reason that I do any wood turning at all is because he did, and I have a lot of the stuff that he made. So along comes my 7-year-old grandson, and he wants me to teach him how to play checkers. And I found out I didn't have any checkers. However, I can make round things on my lathe. So I've been making a set of checkers. Now that's about the simplest thing I think you could probably make on a lathe. These are walnut, and then I have some made out of maple. But I think the cool thing is that as he gets to be 7, 8 years old, he's really wanted to be out working on the lathe. And for that generation of kids, to get them away from their electronics, I think is a great thing. So that's all I wanted to show.
Thank you. And that is a great thing. Bring them up right, they'll grow up right. So that's what it's an important move there. Anybody else? A gallery? I'm trying to run through the chat right now, but A lot of comments about that demonstration done. It was very good. I've done a lot of threading on pieces. And just like you saw Paul showing this, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, and you have to take your time. Paul's right. I would normally do the inside and finish the inside of the box, then make the lid fit. And I found that that was the easier way to go. I had more leeway making the top fit than I'd have making the bottom fit. And once you start turning them, you'll understand. And there are combination tools available all over the market right now, where people say, I got one tool to do both the inside and the outside and everything. I'm going to go back to, I've got 3 or 4 different sets of Robert Sorby tools, one bottoming tool, one gauge, and I keep them all in one little case. And it's important that they get treated that way because they do act as scrapers. If you damage that edge, you're never going to get a good thread again. So take care of it. Anybody else in gallery? Cade's up. Cade's got something. Cade's always got something. I mean, he really does. What's up, Cade?
Hi, everyone. I got a couple of things. I did a wig stand the other day. Here is one made out of ash, of the sapwood and the heartwood. So the sapwood actually runs down the side of the spindle as well into the base of the wig stand. And yeah, great challenge, great practice for your tool control, spindle turning, skew work, or spindle gouge work. It's a very good project for a good cause. So
Yeah, one of our founders, Ronnie, he turned out 10 in the last couple of days. His is 2x4 work, but he'll tell you it helped him develop his curves, his coves, his spindle work, his attachments, his holding, and getting uniform with items one after the other. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to get him start making about the poles from the handrails. Once you get into spindles, you're into spindles. Whoa!
some of you might have seen this on Facebook, spinning on my lathe. This is a live edge wing bowl. I also call it a plane prop bowl. It's turned solely on the lathe out of one branch that you cut a lot longer than it is thick. And it's a fun project. It gets your adrenaline pumping. Make sure you keep your fingers and hands behind the tool rest because it will wake you up if you touch your knuckles. I don't know by experience. And I still have the bottom on here. I'll be taking that off later in the weekend.
If you do get hurt, we can put you into Brenda's Band-Aid brigade.
Yeah,
No,
I don't think I'm gonna be doing one of them either.
No bloody
Yeah.
knuckles.
Blood.
I'll pass on that one too.
Thank you,
It
Cade.
keeps you cool in the hot sun. I mean, you got a full fan blowing right in front of you, so it's nice in the summer.
If nothing else, it will make you pay attention, really.
Definitely. And you need to float that bevel as you ride that bevel down the walls of that propeller. Otherwise, it will flex. It can flex, it could distort. And then when you have that, you'll have uneven wall thicknesses and potentially wood shrapnel flying through the air. And then lastly, today we hit 3rd trimester, so 3 months to go. I was on a bit of a kick yesterday morning making some more baby rattles. These ones do not have a choking hazard, so they don't have to be fixed to something. So this one, the base is made out of ash, and I dyed it yellow. And then the bulbs, this one is made out of acacia. So we have some sapwood, some heartwood, and they're both hollow forms. And I filled them with a couple jade and jasper round beads. But on this side, I filled it with a few amethyst irregular stone style beads. And I find with the round beads, it sort of follows the curve of the inside of the hollow form, so you don't get a really good rattle. But with the irregularly shaped beads, you get a much better rattle. So I did one of each on this side. I don't really like the sound of that one as much as the other one I did, but this is the other one I did, and I did a baby blue handle and out of ash, and then the two bulbs are made out of ash. I'm gonna keep them yellow. I did sort of egg style shapes, and they're hollowed to 1/8 of an inch, so if they drop on the floor, hit the hardwood floor, step on them, they're not gonna shatter. And epoxy together so they won't come apart. And in both of these, I put one round bead and probably 4 or 5 of the smaller amethyst beads. And I really like the sound of this one better, much better than the other one.
Kate, I see that's a baby blue. Evidently, it's going to be a boy.
It might. That's why I did one of each, because we still don't know what the sex is going to be. And we're going to keep that a surprise, but we're getting quite excited with only
There's
3
one,
weeks to
there's
go.
one blue dad in pink.
Yeah, that's what someone else said at the UK meeting this afternoon. We'll have to make one in pink too, just in case. And I also have been thinking of laser engraving them once we know the sex and the name. I was actually going to engrave some of them today because I had to drop off a handful of things to my engraver, but I didn't want to just put Baby Bolger or BB. We're not really big fans of BB. It would probably be Baby Bolger, but we'd rather have it, let it have a name, and it'll be a memento and a keepsake. So we're going to wait until then, and I'll put the names on them for sure.
Great. We'll want to see them then.
You're sure you're not having twins, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I hope. I'm catching up sleep now.
All right, Glenn Dornack has got something. Glenn, you got to talk to me for a moment so I can find you.
Okay, I'm here.
All right, Glenn. Now now I can put you on the spotlight. Now
Okay.
you're up. Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, I had turned my one niece. She likes penguins, so I turned a little penguin out of some walnut and maple, and I turned the beak out of Osage orange. And then our club, we had a challenge to turn lidded boxes. So I had turned one. This one's about 1/2 inch diameter, about 3/4 inches long.
That's awesome.
And then that one fits into a Purple Heart one. This is about 5/8 diameter.
Oh, I think I know where this is going, folks.
Then that one fit into this one here. This is out of Ziricot, and this one's about 3/4 inch diameter. And then it went into another one out of Kingwood, and then that one went into one out of Osage orange. And then that one went into one out of African mahogany. That one's too close to fit.
I think you're building this mare inside.
And then that one ended up in one out of walnut. So there's this one out of walnut's about 2 3/4 diameter, about 6 inches long. So there's a total of 7 of them. So
wow.
All right. What club do you belong to?
Coastal Bend Woodturners in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay. All right. That's good. And that was your challenge.
Yes.
Right. But those are beautiful. That's beautiful work. A great idea. And I mean, boy, you talk about having to develop your skills.
Yeah, I still may put one more smaller one and then a bigger one yet. So
Nice
beautiful,
job.
man. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow.
Very good.
Now it's the magnifying glasses to make the smaller one.
Yeah, that one probably used 3/8 dowel on that one.
So Glenn, is your club meeting live yet?
No, we're just doing we're doing Zoom, but it's just our club members right now.
Yeah, yeah. Could just wondering, we're starting, I think next month or two, we might start meeting live up here in Victoria.
Yeah, yeah. I think right now we're talking maybe around maybe July, we may start meeting live again.
Yeah, we're looking at it.
We kind of get our updates from one of our members is a heart surgeon. So we always ask him if we should start meeting or whatever, but hopefully by July, we'll be able to start meeting again. Looking forward to that. So
our president is a doctor in Cuero, so we'll do what's right.
Yes, yeah, we listen to him. So
Thank you. Appreciate the input. Now, folks, I have to mention, remind everybody, 2 items tonight, or 3 items. Number 1, save the check before you leave this evening. Number 2, we have a challenge to you right now. Ronnie Bonnet threw this challenge out. He's my co-host or my co-founder of this organization. And Ronnie turned, and I've been talking about it all night long, Ronnie turned 10 weight stands this week in the last 2 days. And he's got wood stocked up for probably another 40, which he'll turn. And he wants to know if you can beat him. Really, get together, turn weight stands, let our webmaster know right through our website what you've done, how many you've turned. If you got photographs, we'd like to see them. If you do artwork, if you do painting, like Cade took those woods and dyed them and stained them and changed the colors of them. We want to see what you can do. This is a challenge to challenge your talents. And
I
then,
like me, Eddie.
what's that?
I like me, and I'll show it.
All right. Well, you're up. Hold on. I'll highlight you again now. I can spotlight Ronnie. There he is. Pull it back, Ronnie. There you go.
2x4.
2x4 lumber, folks. He picked up at a job site. Somebody building a house, went by and got their scraps, because there's no such thing as junk wood. And he turned these. He's getting to practice his spindle work, his faceplate work, his chucking, his holding, his finishing, everything. And look, that is pine. Look at the finish on it. That is pine. He didn't tear it up, didn't gouge it out.
And it's finished with Parfix 3408.
Hey, Ronnie, where do you go to donate those typically?
In New Orleans, my daughter is a nurse in the oncology department.
Okay.
And what I'm doing, I'm turning them over to her. She's bringing them in, and people are going crazy for them.
That's great.
I made a contact at my hospital yesterday, the one I go to, and they're willing to deal with us. They love the idea. The lady I was talking to was just gaga over it. And she was just looking at photographs. So I got to get one ready for her next week.
Yeah, I've got a doctor in my, or a hospital administrator in my church that can, if he doesn't want them directly, he can probably tell me where to go to do them. So I was just wondering, I'm going to do some of those.
We had a cancer treatment center, and we made up a bunch of these things, and they just love them. They can't get enough of them.
Well, we're looking for you folks to get involved and get them turned. That's what our challenge is. Get involved, get them turned, get them into the hands of those who need them. We have no prizes. We can't do prizes. We can't do giveaways and challenges that give you prizes.
Now,
All we got to tell you is it'll feel good right here. And that's what's important, if it feels good right there.
Remember, Dave is going to report how many everybody said they have done.
Yeah, that'll be on our website.
Sweet. I lost track after a while, but that's a great idea. Keep track of however many everyone's made.
Right.
I donate mine to a cancer support center local in the next town over from me. And then there's also cancer support hospitals that will also take them. And even if there's sick kids, I mean, sometimes kids need them as well.
They really do. They
The way
do.
my daughter explains it is that a lot of the patients that they have might not need it. It depends what stage they're at. The people that are taking the drug in the earlier stages seems to lose their hair, but the people that have been on it a while seems like they get their hair back. So at the beginning stages, just this is a real pick me up that somebody cares enough to give them something like this to make them feel better. So it's a great thing to do.
It is. The ladies love it. The guys, they'll do this kind of haircut and not have a problem with it. But for the ladies, we have to take care of them.
Oh yeah, it's devastating for a woman to lose their hair.
Yes.
Yeah, if I was still in Phoenix, I'd know exactly where to take them because my wife went through that whole thing, and actually I'm gonna make this statement. We went through that whole thing together. That is not pleasant, and anything you can do to pick her up a little bit will help.
It really will.
There you go.
Trust me, folks, it all counts. Every kind word, every kind gesture helps. And they're in a, pardon me, a heck of a way. And it's important for us to help. Well, it's coming up on 9:30. That's Central Time. Daylight.
10:30.
Yeah. Or like Paul says, it's coming up on dawn. Thank Paul tonight for joining us in this demonstration. And thank you for all of you. Thank you for everything y'all do and for joining us each week. We're a club made up of you and only for you. It's free. Ronnie tells me sometimes, and he's true, this is the greatest free show on earth. It really is. And because of you, we keep it going. We'll see all of you back next Wednesday evening. Invite your friends, bring your club members, and bring everybody. We got plenty of room. We went to like 115 folks tonight, but hey, that was kind of low. But when the numbers doesn't count, it's you that counts. So get in here and join us. We had a good night. We learned a lot and shared a lot of tips and tricks. With that, I want to say that in 60 seconds, I want to turn off the button. 60 seconds.
Oh, no.
Save the chat.
No.
Good night. Yeah, say good night,
everybody. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night,
y'all.
Have a great week.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Night, all.
Night,
Be
everybody.
safe.
Yes.
Oh, look.
Everybody be safe out there.
Oh.